Good morning. This is the Escambia County Budget Workshop Committee of the Whole July Budget Workshops for July 21st at 9:03 a.m. Commissioner Underhill, do you want to lead us in the pledge?
Gladly. Please join me in the pledge to the national ensign.
Thank you. Please remember to turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. I'm assuming this was still advertised just as the one yesterday was? Okay. Looks like they got the memo. Let's see here. Amber, did we have 2 pages left on item 7 or item 8 from yesterday?
Yes, sir, we do.
Throwing an audible in there. And is this, so this is not item 9, this is item 8 still?
Correct.
Okay. Request and review, wait, or is this item 9? Capital request and review?
Yes, this is capital request and review.
Okay.
That is correct. My agenda cuts off the numbers. I'm sorry, this is number 9. We have already, this is 8 into 9. They essentially go together, but this is an action item piece of the agenda where we're asking for feedback from the board. So this is essentially a combination of 8 and 9.
Okay.
And there is one more slide that also follows this.
All right, let's try to get through this then.
Okay. All right. So we left off yesterday, as you'll recall. Good morning, first of all. It's nice to see everybody. Hopefully we're all well rested. I certainly slept hard. So we left off yesterday discussing capital planning and that we implemented the GFOA's best practice recommendation for multi-year capital planning this year. Of course, we've only tackled vehicles. We did not tackle all of the other asset types that the county owns, simply because we found as we began discussing that though some departments do have multi-year capital plans, not all of them do. And we felt that vehicles were something tangible that everyone could understand and implement the process with. So in doing so, we have pared down, as we saw yesterday, our fleet from the 900, so let's go back just so I can speak to that slide. So the 938 vehicles, we pared that down to the 75 as what administration would recommend as the amount that we request for funding for the 75 units at $8.8 million. That is the first item on this listing for requests and review. The next piece is the capital request, not including vehicles that were not already incorporated into the proposed budget. I know that seems confusing, but we had instances, for example, with a waste fund where they had sufficient reserves they had saved up over the years to cover the cost of the capital request they had submitted. Where there was funding available to cover the capital requests that were submitted, we included those into the budget, the proposed budget already. The next item on the list are new proposals. This ranges depending upon which option we choose for public safety. There were 4 options. We would not choose all 4. We would choose one of the 4. And so the range of the proposals, I believe at the lowest it was 5.2 million. At the highest, if we funded everything, would be 5.8 million in requested funding. And those are a combination of some capital, some operational expenses. Then we have the LOST 4 projects, so local option sales tax 4 projects that have been identified in previous years when the plan was initially laid out, but the board has not yet taken action to either approve or appropriate the dollars for the listings that are included. The 17 million are for projects through fiscal 21, so they were identified from the beginning of LOST 4 plan through fiscal 21. And then the fiscal 22 amount of $25 million are those items that were identified in the initial plan to be implemented in fiscal 22. So our total requests that are not yet included in the proposed budget are $57 million. The funding sources that we have available that we are recommending we consider would be LOST, unappropriated, anticipated revenue collections. So the revenue that we expect to collect in fiscal 22, we have not appropriated all of those dollars just yet. There is a $20 million difference between the revenue we expect to collect versus the projects that the board has previously approved. We, of course, have the American Rescue Plan dollars that have come in. There are $30.5 million remaining, and we'll take a look at that slide in a little more detail next. And then we have estimated fund balance in the general fund of $30 million. You'll notice I did not speak to any of the other fund balance amounts. We could look at other funding sources as options. For example, LOST, we expect we'll probably have a little bit of money left over because we are collecting in excess of what was budgeted, but that requires us looking at a little more detailed in funding sources. And we also have to consider the statutory restrictions around those funding sources. We can't use, for example, LOST fund balance to fund, right, salaries, that's correct. So we'll need to go through those lists, and I'm not sure, Chairman, if we want to take a look at the list, or the lists were all included, all 4 of them were included in the backup to the agenda. I'll go ahead and go on to the American Rescue Plan Act slide next. So as you know, we received $30.9 million of the funding back in May. That is sitting in our bank account. We have restricted sources of use as defined by the U.S. Treasury under the interim final rule. This is guidance directly from the U.S. Treasury's site for the use of funds. The third bullet there, which is replacement of lost public sector revenue, that's essentially the catch-all, if you will. We have, and I say we, the clerk's office was extremely helpful, so thank you, Pam, for your staff's assistance in this. They've run the calculation for our lost revenue as guided in the IFR, and NACO also produced a calculator that we've checked that calculation against, and our estimate for lost revenue is $28 million. What that means is for those $28 million, we can then take those dollars and use them to support any current government service. So we can't fund something that we plan to not complete till 2027, but we can plan to support any governmental expenditure for fiscal 22 with those dollars. Yes, sir.
Amber, on that though, if we would still have the whole money available to use in this way as well, though. That's just saying with the,
Yes.
with that 28 million, you can do that.
That's
You
correct.
still have the option of using it as outlaid here.
That's exactly right, yes. So for example, we've discussed in previous meetings, the tourism industry took a huge impact. That would fit under the second bullet point there, addressing the negative economic impacts caused by the public health emergency. That would be that section. We've discussed before investing in our infrastructure, water, sewer, and broadband specifically. That's the last bullet on the list. So those would be dollars we could spend in addition to what I just mentioned. Of course, we've only received the first half of the distribution. The second half would come at some point next year.
And that
So-
the 28 million that we've calculated, that was simply because of COVID. That had nothing to do with Hurricane Sally and the separate claim that we have against Skanska. It's separate.
So yes,
Okay.
essentially. However, we are looking at a period of time that was impacted by Sally, but the IFR, the interim final rule, does not speak to a disaster that we might be facing. It does allow us to to assume rather a 4.1% revenue growth on prior year revenues, and then apply that growth factor to calculate our loss for the current year.
And our grand total, when we get our second tranche of this money, which we believe is next year that we get that?
Correct.
Okay. We can use that over 4 fiscal years. Is that right?
So we can appropriate it over 4, we can spend it over 6.
Perfect.
So, for example, any kind of infrastructure projects, they may not complete out by the end of, I believe it was December of 2024. If we have until December of 2026 to complete the construction of those, we just have to have committed the funds and appropriated the dollars by December of 2024.
Thank you.
And
You're welcome.
On the 4.1% growth, that's if you're not exceeding that though, right?
That's correct. If we exceed 4.1%, then we can use that growth factor.
Commissioner Berry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, Amber. So back to the LOST. So the information that was distributed very recently, do the spreadsheets or any of those tables differ from what was distributed on the 12th, just a week or so ago?
They do not.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Chairman, so the intent today, this is just a workshop. So whatever, without a lot of discussion, we can just move forward to the other stuff that we're doing. And I mean, we're not absolutely married to the backup and the projects and things until we get to the real budget hearings in September, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
That
Thank
was
you.
my understanding. Okay, go ahead.
That is it for the 2 slides. So at this point, we would, a discussion would be healthy, but I'm not sure if we want to continue on with this discussion of each of these listings or if we'd prefer to move forward with community partners.
Okay, yep. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll move on then.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Would you like the first slide pulled
Please.
up? Okay.
Board, I think we were emailed out a couple new slides yesterday evening. Amber, can you just pull up that one that I had added? So these are essentially state mandated. Do we feel that we need to hear from these individuals? I mean, we really don't have any.
Is the amount state mandated, or just that we fund them mandated?
I'm sorry?
Is the amount mandated, or just that we fund them mandated?
I would say that in all my years with Gulf Coast Kids House, I believe this is actually down from, it was a little bit higher in fiscal year 2020. I haven't seen that we've adjusted any of these requests.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
isn't the per exam mandated, and then we're only going to pay them for the exams they actually
Right.
do?
Yes.
So the per exam is mandated, so.
Right.
In essence,
That's mandated.
regardless of what we budget, whatever we end up paying them during the year is going to be mandated, I believe.
Yeah, the number's just a placeholder for Gulf Coast Kids House. Because
Right.
we have to pay per incident. And so, I mean, that was just my question. Madam Counsel, that's just my question. Obviously, these are mandated, but are the amounts mandated is my question.
So, right, I believe for the 2 legal services, which I think everyone has sort of agreed that they would split 50/50 the formula, which we are obligated to pay under the state formula.
So the
It's
total
just that-
number there is a formula that's
Yeah.
given by the state, is what you're saying?
Right, so, but they've agreed, we've all agreed as a group that we split out our obligation between the 2. So that amount is mandated. My understanding of the Gulf Coast Kids House is exactly as Commissioner Berry says, which is we are obligated by law per exam. They are allowed to charge us a reasonable amount per exam for those professional services. I mean, the board has never really gotten
Yeah, I'm not really
involved in
candidly.
quibbling over whether or not it
yeah.
should be a little more, a little less per exam, but
And yeah, and let's, I mean,
That's-
it really wasn't for a great debate. It was just simply,
Yeah.
a question of whether or not the amount requested is by formula mandated by the state, or is this the number that budget came up with? That's as simple as it is for me.
they've come up with these numbers, I'm sure, in concert with these groups.
But I mean,
But, yeah.
Whether it's in concert with these groups or not, I mean, the question is, is there a formula state mandated for this amount of money that people are requesting?
Gulf Coast Kids House is going to be per exam. This is the estimate of how many exams based on, what's happening per year over year, how many they think they're going to have. Yes, as to 2 and 3. The one I'm not 100% sure about, I think this is by our own agreement. This is how much we're agreeing to pay. But if there's a little bit of wiggle room there, perhaps, on Community Health Northwest Florida, I'm not as familiar with that.
Okay.
So
So for
just
clarity for me, Mr. Chairman, the top 3 are state mandated by a formula, and these numbers that we're coming up with are state mandated numbers that we're having. That's what I'm to understand. Not a negotiated.
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
Essentially, yes.
I mean, and I'm just,
This
for
number-
clarity, I mean, essentially,
Gulf Coast
it's
Kids
kind of
House
yes or
number-
no. I mean, it's kind of
Gulf
black
Coast
and
Kids
white.
House may go up or down depending on how many actual exams occur.
And I get that,
So, but yes, we are obligated to pay for them per exam.
absolutely. There's just no set amount. It's just per exam for them.
Correct.
I understand that.
Yep.
So I'm asking for the other, is there a formula for the next 3 in terms of how we fund them?
There is for 2 and 3. They're just splitting it between 2 providers instead of 1. The 4th, off the top of my head, I don't recall. I'm sure either maybe Madam Clerk might remember. I just can't recall. I thought we had agreed at some point to get involved in that based on our historical, when we got rid of University Hospital, and then we kind of broke it amongst the Sacred Heart Baptist. They devised Community Health Northwest Florida, and this is what we, I think, by interlocal agreed to be as the county's share to that
Yeah, I
program.
understand community health very well. I mean,
Yeah, so-
I mean, that money is,
so do we
they would
have
not
s-
pull down the millions of dollars.
Yep.
That number is set to be able to pull down millions of dollars for community health. I
So this is,
understand that.
so do we have some ability to go back in and maybe play with that number a little bit? We'd probably have to go back and renegotiate with those providers, but we've put ourselves in the situation where we are.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And just for the record, on all these that we're seeing is please know that it's FY '22 requested. So this has not been approved. These are just the requests as they've come in from the agency. Commissioner Underhill.
Thank you very much. So Gulf Coast Kids House, it's appearing that they seem to believe that they're going to have an increase in the number of cases. And if that is the case, then certainly a 150 placeholder paid out on a per case basis is appropriate. I think it is a very good news story in Escambia County that we have 2 providers that, instead of competing against one another, have chosen to work together for the benefit of the people and divide up that $42,750. That's, like I said, one of the great good news stories. With regard to Community Health Northwest Florida, I know that much of the money that we provide to them is used to be able to pull down state and federal dollars. So while I don't believe that number is fixed by policy, it certainly makes sense not to save $1 that prevents $1,000 from coming into Escambia County for services to the people. So, Amber, as we move forward into the final budget discussions, I just want to make sure that we understand, or that personally I understand, that a reduction of X number of dollars would result in a loss of 10X
multiplier,
dollars, right?
correct.
And I believe that all of the dollars that we are giving do have those kind of ties attached to them, but I could be wrong. So I'd like to see that analysis on the part of your office prior to making the final decision on it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good slide.
Mr. Chairman? And I agree, and I see Ms. Smiley is here, and I agree, Commissioner Underhill, whatever the maximum amount needed for community health to pull down the maximum amount of state and federal dollars is important. And if we're not going to hear from speakers on this, I just want to be assured from Ms. Smiley that this is, the 414 allows for her to be able to maximize and pull down every federal and state dollar that she can, because I know of the work that they're doing with vaccinations and community health. It's important. The 400,000 is just a drop in the bucket for the work that they're doing. So I just want to make sure that that 414 is all they need to pull down the maximum amount of dollars.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me the time to come up and speak about our low-income pool. So 414 was what we sent up last year, and it pulled down $613,000 additional dollars. the way the ACA allocation distribution that was recently released based on, because our uninsured rate went up last year, we could go up to 620,000 to match, to pull down another 914,000. Now, that isn't set in stone because there are other counties and other local matches throughout the state, so it depends on how that unfolds in the next month or so as other health centers look to secure their IGT match dollars.
So you're comfortable with that number?
I'm comfortable with, yes, 414. For sure, I could bring down 613 at what we did last year.
In real money?
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Malley.
All right, let's go back to the other. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, there were 3 slides that were delivered to us in that email. Can we go ahead and just touch base on those very quickly? I think those were basically recaps or follow-ups to
sure.
the discussion we had yesterday.
One of them
73 and
was,
74, I believe it was. Sorry.
one of them was, do you want to pull up the graph that you?
The graph, sure.
I
All
believe.
right.
Yeah, one was, I think, at Commissioner Berry's request, and one was at mine, I believe.
Commissioner
Oh,
Regosh.
I'm sorry. No, that was right. It was from you and one
Yeah.
from me.
Correct. So this slide, Commissioner Underhill, is what you requested yesterday. So this is a difference from the slide that was presented yesterday in actual, which is the dotted trend lines. The slide yesterday was simply a filter off of the reserves, estimated fund balance, and transfers in and out. This slide negates disaster activity, litigation settlements, and other one-time revenues. You'll notice that, and I should have, in hindsight, put this right next to the other slide so we could toggle back and forth. The gap between the dotted lines yesterday was a much larger gap. Today, just as we had discussed yesterday, that revenue line did come down as anticipated. Revenue is still good news, higher than actual expense. There are 2 points that I noticed that I picked up on this slide. Number one, the revenue dotted line, which is actual revenues, drops below the budgeted, which is the orange solid line, the budgeted expenses. So actual revenues drop below budgeted expenses. What that says to me is if we had been spending at the level we had planned, then even with our excess revenue collections, we still would have been overspending our dollars. The other thing that I pick up on this is that huge drop in 2021. I'm sure that's very apparent to everyone. 2 points to note here. One, we're not complete. We're not through the entire fiscal year. One might ask, well, we're not through the fiscal year on revenue either, but the government tends to collect the majority of its revenues early on in the fiscal year. So that's one thing to keep in mind on the expenses for fiscal 21. The other thing is, before I negated the disaster fund, the expenses were pretty in line with revenues. The bulk of our expenses, and that's not COVID, that's Hurricane Sally activity. So what that tells me is our governmental resources, which we're feeling, we know our cash is out the door. We know a lot of our purchasing activity has increased because of disaster activity, and certainly our staff feels the strain and drain on their daily work life. But that shows that our resources have in fact shifted to responding to the disaster.
Okay, thank you very much. And Commissioner Berry was absolutely right when he pointed out yesterday that the slide, as you had it, did articulate one-time income side, but not one-time expense side. So I just wanted to clarify that with this slide. And then to Wes, what I'd like to know as we move forward in the process is you should be able to extrapolate out what our expenses are going to be for the rest of the year, and we should be able to show an estimated orange dotted line for how we think this is going to end, end of the fiscal year. The thing that I think is very important about this slide is that you see that revenue, in fact, did drop below expenses. We were kind of riding on the line in 17, 18, and then revenue dropped below during the year that we had all of the COVID issues and the hurricanes. So we had that 1-2 punch that resulted in that reality in which our actual expenses started. We lost some of that cushion. So good The slide now, I think, articulates a much better, a much more accurate story, and also gives us the ability to, you know, for Wes to start thinking about, okay, what's the end of the year going to look like? And I think that's going to be an important discussion for us to have as we budget for next year. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. So this was the second slide that was added. The third one is just the change to the slide we were just on.
Yes, sir, it was the note that Commissioner Burgash requested.
Sorry. Any other further discussion on that slide we just were on? Okay.
This is the first of the community
Okay.
partner slides.
Yeah, yours is next anyways.
Thank you for indulging me on those,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Let's go one by one.
Yep, you guys ready? So Brace, I believe, for what, Brace can come on up if they're here. I know that last year at the, I think, budget hearing, we just said don't knock 5% off of everyone's budget, so it looks like they've just done their request again. If you can just state your name for the record, we didn't have them fill out speaker forms, but,
Sure. My name is Michelle Luckett. I'm the CEO for Brace.
okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Do you have any comments on the, what
Sure.
you guys are doing? And
First, I'd just like to remind the commission that Brace has a threefold purpose. The first one is disaster preparation. And in that, since October, the organization has trained over 1,500 volunteers for a total of 23,300 hours of service. We've participated in 455 outreach events, reaching over 9,000 Escambia residents. We continue to establish a culture of emergency preparedness with our youth by reaching over 1,100 youth since October. The Community Emergency Response Training Program has been front and center since I arrived in January. Since then, Brace has initiated a hybrid CERT program in partnership with the University of Utah so that we can continue training local volunteers regardless of the COVID-19 situation. Brace has also held 2 Citizen Corps activities with over 50 participants for a 2.5-day training event. CERT teams came from as far away as Pinellas County to participate. For emergency management response support, Brace sits the ESF 15 position for volunteers and donations. We have a team of 5 prepared to support emergency management 24 hours a day. This core group of individuals has completed all the necessary FEMA training to support the position. Brace was recently asked by Director Gilmore to fill the ESF 13 position due to our veteran coordinator's strong relationship with the military community and with the National Guard. For the first time ever, all of the Brace staff have received Red Cross shelter training and participated in the EOC exercise last week so that we can better support the ESF 6 position. For Hurricane Sally recovery, Brace mobilized 4,800 volunteers to assist residents in the early days after the storm. Since February 2021, 287 needs assessments have been completed with an uninsured value of $4,700,000. Currently, there are 63 open cases with 2 case managers and 1 case management supervisor. This past week, Brace was welcoming its new construction manager thanks to a small staffing grant from Lutheran Disaster Services. In the last 10 weeks, funding distribution through the Escambia County Long-Term Recovery Group has been approximately $243,000. Partners include United Way of West Florida, Council on Aging, Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, and Flood Defenders. Brace case managers have received ongoing training on FEMA appeals and how to receive additional guidance from SBA for personal loans for our local residents. Recovery volunteer projects include organizations such as Team Rubicon, the Red Cross, the American Legion, and the Church of Latter-day Saints. This is just a quick summation of what we've done since October, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Board, any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Good. And I just want to recognize Eric. I think you've seen the value that Brace brings to the community and the efforts that we do after a hurricane. And
Yes, sir, absolutely. Since Michelle's been here, we've had a great relationship with Brace. They've helped us out with volunteers at our vaccine clinics.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, Eric, that Brace has been
I
on the
mean,
forefront.
they have
Thank you,
stepped
Michelle.
up, helped us with volunteers. They're doing shelter training to help us with the needs to fill the gap for knock on wood, I hope we don't have to do it, but our shelters, our hurricane shelters. So Michelle's been a great partner, and she's absolutely taken the ESF 15 desk and done what it needs to be done with it, and it's a viable desk now for us. It's a really great partnership.
And I think Brace is housed in a partnership with us, and so,
Yes, sir.
yeah, and so,
Yeah.
thanks.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
HRC and Amber, the note here is not included in fiscal '22 proposed budget. I mean, just, I'll let her speak on that for a second.
So because of timing on application and some challenges that no one could prevent,
Sure.
the application was not received in time for us to be able to coordinate this in. However, we will just need to appropriate additional general fund dollars to fund this one.
Or
This
find
one
it-
is
Or
typically
find it
funded.
within what's already been
That's correct.
requested. Okay.
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
No, a part of it is,
Didn't we-
a part of it is funded out of CBG funds.
Yeah, I thought we
For,
funded it out of
that's
those
just for the housing discrimination, but the other portion is funded from the city and the county.
Okay.
And yes, sir, you are correct, Commissioner May. The CDBG piece is budgeted for. It's simply the general fund piece that comes through the community partners application that did not get included.
Correct, yeah,
in
thanks,
time.
Amber. Yeah, I
You're
was just explaining to Commissioner Berry. And Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Henderson's coming, and so I serve on the Human Relations Board, and obviously, we know we lost our executive director due to COVID, and we've just gotten an executive director within the last 15 to 20 days, which caused a further delay. But I do want to thank Madam Attorney's Office, Kia, and Claire Long and Meredith Crawford. They've really held it together for the last year for us, so we could get an executive director.
Sure. And I know this board's been supportive of that. Did you have any questions other than keeping them at the 84,265? No, I don't have any reason. Okay. Does the board have any questions over the 84,265? Unless you have something else to say.
May I state my name for the record?
Yes, sir.
My name is Al Henderson. I'm the Executive Director of Human Relations Commission. It's a pleasure to be standing here before you all today to also just be as a community partner. So we appreciate your support and services. Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you. Okay. United Way. I thought I saw her walking. There she is.
Good morning, Laura Gilliam, CEO of United Way of West Florida. We actually have two applications in, one for our community investment process in the amount of $81,880, and one for 211 of Northwest Florida for $22,087. The community investment process, those funds are distributed to agencies during our community investment process. The United Way, the 211 Northwest Florida funds support 211, which is our 24/7 information and referral line that activates during disasters. We support Brace. We are active in the Emergency Operations Center. We supported callers during COVID when our call volume went up about 300%. So we're an integral part of supporting individuals connecting to resources day to day, as well as during disaster. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have, and thank you for having us here.
Perfect.
Laura, I want to thank you for community caring in the partnership with WAR during COVID. I know most of us contributed through our discretionary, but without your help and Ms. Sue Strong, it would have been a very hard Christmas for a lot of the kids in Brownsville. So thank you for your help in getting those resources to those children in the Brownsville area.
Absolutely.
Made our
Thank
community
you.
center during COVID. I mean, it really brought a lot of life to it. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Appreciate the support.
Sure. All right, and I'm sure I know that how vital 211 is played as people have needed help finding a place for food and everything else, so I appreciate that service. So.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Axe?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Pastor Rankins, the Director of the ACTS program. I want to thank you all for your support over the years. Nothing much has changed from our program. We have just moved to another location. We were at 2101 North Pace Boulevard, but we're now at 1612 North Pace Boulevard, which is about 4 blocks from where we were. Our building was sold. If you see the increase, the slight increase that we're asking for this year, we're in the process of trying to hire a licensed psychologist to help with our clients. Many of them have addictive behaviors, and unfortunately, some of those who have recommitted crimes are struggling with different mental issues and addictions. And so our board decided to hire someone that can address those needs to help our clients. Other than that, nothing much else has changed. We want to thank you all for your support.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you. Council on Aging?
Commissioners, I'm John Clark, President of the Council on Aging of West Florida, here to answer any questions you might have. As you know, the funding we receive from you is used as match for our federal and state money. It's very important, and we appreciated your support over the past, well, since I've been with the Council on Aging, 45 years. I know some of you weren't even born back then. But anyway, we do appreciate the support we've gotten from you.
They were thinking about me, okay?
Yeah. Last year was like no other. And this year, we've been fortunate to try, speaking of disaster, I know one of the Commissioner Underhill's concerns last year was about resiliency, and we've been able to work with Brace. As she mentioned, we are partnered with them in long-term recovery. We did get a grant from AARP, and I know to help with recovery from the hurricane and for Escambia and Santa Rosa. And we've also gotten a grant this year to help with emergency food supplies from Florida Power and Light and the Florida Council on Aging, so we've distributed those. We've also been able to purchase a lot more emergency food supplies for our existing clients. So trying to be proactive, and hopefully we'll never have to worry about that, but you never know. So thank you for your support.
Thank you. One of the things that we're seeing on the rise is continued cyber victimization of elderly.
Yeah.
Older folks being lonely at home, drop their guard and do things online that they wouldn't. You wouldn't let somebody in your front door, but you certainly let them in your house through a cable. If there is anything that you are considering doing along those lines.
Well, it's actually interesting you mentioned that. We have a magazine that we distribute to all of our clients, donors, and the community in general, called Coming of Age, and we had an article in there about cybersecurity. It is an issue, and one of our funders was hit by cybersecurity fairly recently. And of course, as a CEO of an organization, I can consistently worry about it. Several years ago, we purchased cyber insurance, and back then it was very cheap because nobody thought you'd ever need it. But so we try to make people aware about that, about being careful who you let in your home, what you give people over the telephone, and the computers too. I mean, you can be, as you know, just looking online and suddenly something will pop up and say, click on this link immediately. I mean, and you're terrified and you think, I better do that. But so we try to tell people not to do things like that and to just shut the computer down and start over.
So what I was going to tell you is that you have a considerable cyber community of interest here in Escambia County, including Department of Homeland Security, which has their cyber hygiene principles.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a means to outreach to elderly folks in this county,
Okay.
that you need the nerds to come and sit down with them and talk through
Okay.
why not to do these things,
Right.
and how to be safe and what to do when you are believe that you might be at risk.
Good point.
I'll just reach out to my office. I'll be more than happy to
Okay.
pull together a posse of nerds, and we'll go out and do that for you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
that
you.
very much.
Allison, we had this discussion last year about Council on Aging. Don't we have an agreement where we're mandated to fund Council on Aging?
We did enter into an agreement. This was actually not with the Council on Aging. It was with the Housing Finance.
Health facilities.
The Health
yeah.
Facilities Authority, when Paula Drummond was leaving there. I think
Right.
they set this up, and I think it was for 5 years.
Has that expired yet?
It should have another.
Next year, I think
Yeah,
it's-
I was gonna
yeah.
say.
And the only reason I make that point, John, I mean, because you do great work, I mean, you're a partner in our community centers, Mr. Chairman, that this one probably should have been on that mandated list and not a part of this list, because there is a ongoing agreement to fund council on aging.
What happens is they, as long as we do this contribution, the Health Facilities Authority also makes a contribution and helps their Meals on Wheels program.
If you would want to, we can work on extending that contract and also including them on that list that we saw earlier.
Okay.
Is that something that?
Yeah, that would be fine.
We can,
What I don't know is the appetite at the Health Facilities Authority. I know that there was some money there at the time when they entered into that agreement. I can certainly reach out to their leadership and see what the situation is.
let's do that. and
I
have-
concur.
Yeah,
I concur with the chairman.
hopefully get that either re-upped or something new by this time next year and save you a trip down.
Right. Thank you.
Well, John likes coming down, but. at
Oh, I
least
do.
He just wants to be put on another list.
All right, thank you, John.
All right, thank you very much.
Gulf Coast Veterans Advocacy Council?
Good morning. My name is Vernon Watson. I'm with the Gulf Coast Veteran Organization. And of course, you know, we're an all-volunteer organization to try to support veterans throughout Escambia County. And we, first of all, we want to thank the county again for all the support over the last 5, 6 years that you provided with us for whatever the amount of monies that you provide us, because it is well spent. We did ask for a slight increase. Number one, because we mainly depend on donations. And of course, during this year of COVID, donation is down a little bit this year. In fact, it's down a little, quite a bit this year. So what we're asking is we still provide services throughout the county for veterans. We do day-to-day services for the veterans, you know, to help them, assist them with the benefits with the families. We have an overwork program that we refer veterans to. We have a court program that we assist veterans with their veterans court issues and so forth. And of course, we plan and put on various events like the events at the memorial services every year at Barrancas. We put that on, as well as we do an annual homeless veterans stand down event, and also we do the Veterans Day Parade. And we have approximately 6 veteran service officers out throughout the county to assist other veterans in whatever efforts they need to do in terms of the needs of the veterans and their families. This year we added, because of the COVID, one of the other projects that we trying to get veterans to do to make sure they was tested, information go out for them tested, and also we trying to get them, encourage them to get vaccinated as many as they can. So that's mainly what we do. We work with many different organizations, the Volunteer America, Pensacola State College, the Kokua Foundation, the Metro Treatment Center, the Veteran Memorial Park. We're all partners with those organizations to try to assist veterans in any ways. That's just kind of a nutshell, gentlemen, and we will appreciate any support that we can obtain from the county, and we want to maintain to be a very a great county partner. You know, and there's over 40,000 veterans in this organization. I know that the county has a veteran service officer, but you can only do so much, and we have a lot of folks that come to us directly because we're veterans. And we, as you know, a tight-knit group of veterans, they refer other veterans because we know one another. So any support you can give us, we appreciate it. We prefer what we requested, but we do understand. In this challenging year, we understand what we can do.
Sure.
Any questions?
I'll just say, don't think any decisions on any of these are being made today. We'll have our hearings in September. The other thing I would just say is recognize what you do in conjunction with our staff, because I think some of the government services were shut down or very hard to reach, and I know that the locals are really what stepped up and advocated for the veterans and helped them. So thank you all for assisting in that as well, and thank
Yeah,
you for
one
your
of the
service.
things too, in addition to what you're saying, Commissioner Bender, is that some of the veterans weren't able to get onto the base and so forth, had issues, and a lot of them, the homeless veterans, have transportation problems, and that's why we come sometimes steps in to try to help fill that gap for them.
Sure.
Yes,
Perfect.
sir.
Any further discussion?
Number 12, I want to thank you for your service and all the veterans. Thank you for your service to our country. The Memorial Day parade, I mean, in spite of COVID, the way you were able to execute that was wonderful. I was glad to be a part, and I know you have a lot of great veterans, and y'all do a lot of feedings. I've been to your meetings, and my prayers are with Mr. Clark as well. So thank you. I know the good work you do for the amount of money that you get. It's commendable, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner May.
You
Thank
led that parade, didn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen.
You led that parade, didn't you?
Well, I was in the parade. They were so.
That was really towards the front.
Yeah, well, they were so kind to let me get in the front of the parade, but I didn't get the chance to lead the Mardi Gras parade. So but no, they were very kind to acknowledge some elected officials, and it was a good time, a great diverse crowd. So we appreciate it. I mean, we have so many veterans, Mr. Chairman, and we have such a great need, and our homeless veterans, and I mean all the things that they suffer. I mean, we just don't have the capacity to get it, but I know they give people rides to the VA hospital and things that I'm aware of, and so we try to support them as well in our personal giving.
Well,
So.
I think that was also the day that they unveiled the Gold Star Families Memorial, so that was a great lead-in to that.
That was, we were down there
Yeah.
with Mayor Robinson. Yeah, that was a pretty long walk from Main Street to the park, yeah.
So, all right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much.
James B. Washington?
I forgot, Robert, that you were down there too, yeah. Seemed like it was a long time ago.
That was a hot,
It was a hot
I think it was
day.
warmer then than it was on Memorial Day this year.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Councilman. I just want to say that my name is Benny Washington. I'm the Executive Director of James B. Washington Education and Sports. We just want to say thank you all for your continued support. And our organization is growing tremendously. We're serving about 452 people at this time. And the little space we have is so congested, it's just 1,200 feet. We just completed our summer youth enrichment program. We had 17 kids in a 1,200 foot capacity. And we did math, English, science, and social studies. We've taken them on field trips to the Science Exploratorium in Mobile. We've taken the kids college visits to the University of Florida and Florida State. In addition to that, we had a basketball program, which is very competitive, but a requirement for that, the kids must have their grades. Our goal is to work with at-risk youth, as we're doing, in the underserved community, and improve graduation. Now, everybody wants to tell, Coach, you need to get them involved in cybersecurity, or you need to get them involved in robotics, or you need them to get, and we go to these field trips, and we've done all these different things. But there's a need out there because there are a lot of kids now. It's gotten worse since COVID. They can't read and write. And I'm serious about that. So with the tutorial program, in addition with the summer youth enrichment program, which is to make sure we try to avoid that summer slide in the summertime where the kids just take off 2 months and don't do anything. And we have kids from the Pensacola Village. We have kids from the courts, and they are doing extremely well. The kids that stayed in the program during the tutorial program, the one that's finished now, not all of them, end up with a 3.0 grade point average. And I think that's amazing. Now, for the summer youth enrichment program, we had 17 students. We had to turn down 22 students. And when Bob Hill called me about, you gonna make an announcement? No, we don't need to make an announcement because we can't accommodate them. So we are asking for an increase, if you would, to help us try to expand. We are partnering with other organizations but we really need this help, and even, honestly, we need a gym. The basketball program has grown tremendously. Work with SYSA, we get in, but so many kids are coming, it's a large problem out there with gyms to keep kids busy. If we can get them in 2 or 3 days of tutoring, 2 or 3 days in the gym, that keep them out of trouble, they graduate high school, and from there they can go to college, military, vocational trade, or wherever. So thank you for your continued support, but we really do need this increase if possible. I would love for y'all, each and every one, just come by the facility and see what we're doing.
Sure.
I'm not gonna talk all day. Anybody have any questions?
I won't let you talk all day, but Commissioner May, are these some of the programs that the Children's Trust are looking at supporting?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, so do you think that we could do something a little bit like what we do with Visit Pensacola and some of those other programs that maybe some of these asks go to the Children's Trust instead of coming here?
Mr. Chairman, obviously I can't speak for that board.
Sure,
I mean, I'm
sure.
just one of, I think, 10, but absolutely, I'm going to be advocating for any youth development programs or delinquency prevention programs. It's called the Children's Trust Fund.
Right.
It should be for
I
children.
mean, it sounds
and it should
exactly
be for
what they're
children.
doing is exactly the mission and
Right,
why the
absolutely.
voters put it in, so.
Mr. Chair, I don't mean to cut you off. We need both. We need both. It's that big now. I mean, we really do need both. And I will hate whatever we can get here and then not get the Children's Trust. We applied for so many grants and different things, and for whatever reason, we turned down for, I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe you can, I don't know if any funds left in the Sheriff's Department. Maybe, I don't know how that works, but it's not coming our way and dealing with the type of kids that we're dealing with. And of course, we have staff, and then we have a lot of volunteers, and we got a lot of great people in the community helping out. But it's growing rapidly, and we need some financial support.
I would definitely recommend going after those LET funds. Commissioner Underhill?
Thank you very much. Coach, I want to speak to something that you mentioned there where, getting a lot of pressure, people telling you, oh, we got to get these kids into cyber and all that kind of thing. And you're right to push back on that a little bit. And we need to start fixing that false narrative that there's one thing for all these kids to do. The thing that the kid should do is the thing that he is going to be good at. And why would you want to put him in something that he might only be good at when he could be in something that he'd be great at? So as a huge advocate for the cyber trades, I cringe every time I hear somebody really pushing that at the expense of all others. I personally have one son that's going to Florida Polytech doing cyber and robotics, and another son that's going to George Stone. And guess what? The one going to George Stone is going to be paying his way first.
Right.
All right. So we gotta make sure. And anytime people are trying to, it's right for you to push back on that, because the right path to success for each of these kids, that's for God and the kid to decide, and not for us. And if there's any time that you need some help pushing back on that argument, then by all means, that's a good strong argument for it. George Stone and the trades are a better path to prosperity, faster path to prosperity than a lot of the other things that are being pitched to these kids.
I totally agree, but we still got to get basic reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Those things are absolutely foundational to all of it. Those and then those and also the character, ethics, work ethic, and that kind of stuff that you instill through sports. If you don't have any of that, I don't care what some college teaches you, you're not going to be able to maintain a job. And you're probably going to end up on the wrong side of a set of gray bars.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I totally agree.
Thanks for what you do, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and Coach Washington, obviously, we've coached together, played together for many years. So I believe that. I believe that when you capture young people, and as Commissioner O'Neill said, we get the basics, as you just said, the reading, the writing, and arithmetic, and we take them into, if they want to go to college, that's great. If they want to be an accountant or a PhD, but if they want to get a skill set, in construction or whatever, they can come out at age 18 making a good salary here in Escambia County. So I appreciate you. We can just get them out of trouble with what you're doing and get them into George Stone's or a training program. I see Scott Luth here. I mean, we're trying to work tirelessly. And what I do want to see with all of our community partners is the collaboration of how we're working, because none of us are experts in everything. And so if we're keeping them in and getting the tutoring and getting the grades with you, and then we pass them on to our block by block program, and now they're learning how to lay bricks. We just did a thing with AMI kids. We just graduated some kids on last Friday, in which those kids have certificates in construction.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're going to be viable. I mean, we have covenanted with community here, and where we encourage people to hire local labor. So the goal is for kids to be able to participate in my program, your program, and be able to pay their own way and not depend on others to have to pay their way. To me, that's the ultimate goal. So
Exactly. I love what you're doing. I love partnership with you, and continue to develop and grow that.
Hey, I appreciate you last night. Did y'all win?
Yeah, we got lucky.
Well, you saved me, man. Miss Beck was beating me up, man. I said, you got the Beck kid. You got Justin Beck kid, and Miss Beck's beating me up. I mean, I said, I appreciate you saving me last night.
No, they on your team. We all together. It's one community.
All right, thanks.
But there's nothing else. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
New World Believers, oh, we skipped, we need to go back on the slide. Oh, Amber, can you, I think we may have skipped ahead on a slide. If you can just, thank you. Okay, is New World Believers here? Okay. Pensacola Caring Hearts?
Good morning.
Morning.
And thank you for allowing us to be here today. My name is Carol Brundage, and I am representing Pensacola Caring Hearts. Our president, Ms. Fannie Finkley, is unable to be here today, but we're here to petition you all, and thank you again for what you have done for us in the past. Number one, we are a food pantry. We are located at 2105 West Gregory Street. We're a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to feed the homeless and those that's in need. We try our best to nourish those that are in need of food, those that are in need of care. We go beyond just giving out food. We're also a mobile pantry. We not only have them come to us, but we carry the food in the areas that are needed. We have been to the different homeless organizations, we have been to the different places in the city to carry food and help them with the different things that they needed. We have also been to the homeless under the bridge. We fed them with food. We've cooked nourishing meals, hot meals that we have carried out there twice weekly and given them food and, I am somewhat nervous if you'll bear with me, giving them food and nourishing drinks. We're very well known in the organization for feeding the homeless and helping people. And during the pandemic, our need has just tripled. We have given food out in hundreds, thousands of pounds of food on a weekly, sometimes basis. We have carried the food to the areas that were needed. We have had the people come to our pantry for help. We are there every week, and we have numerous people. We feed sometimes up to 50 people on a weekly basis on Wednesday that comes for food, and then we carry the truck to the areas that are needed. We were able this year to purchase a truck which helped us to not be able to rent, but to carry the food to the different areas that were needed. And unfortunately, our catalytic converter was stolen out of that truck, which has set us back. So we are requesting help this year and appreciate what you have done so much in the past, but we are requesting help this year to help us get over this hump and to continue to carry food in the areas that are needed. We have a mission, and we are definitely on a voluntary basis. We are mostly a group of elderly women that go out in the area to carry the food. But we are doing, if I say so myself, a tremendous job doing what we do, because it's just a few of us. And we are doing our best, and we appreciate you so much, and we ask for your continued support in what we're doing. So if there are any questions,
Sounds like you're doing a great job. Appreciate you doing all that for everybody. So,
thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for bearing with me.
And then.
Thanks, Ms.
Commissioner
Brundrett, and I heard on the radio you guys got a little theft problem that happened, and so to tell Ms. Finkley that I'm gonna reach out and help out with that. All right, thanks.
Perfect. Pensacola Promise chain reaction?
Good morning. My name is Carrie King, and I am the board chair. Our executive director could not be here today because she is leading our program that we have in the summer for our teens. So I am here today. We are asking for similar dollars that we've asked for in the past, and those dollars will go to help fund the salaries of our program leaders, as well as the supplies that we need to carry on the programs throughout the year, and then additionally the rent for our program space. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. We have continued to grow the organization, exceeding our goals over the last 3 years in membership and internships and in resumes completed, and had our greatest number of scholarships awarded to our teens this year at $3.2 million.
Perfect, Carrie. Thank you. Any comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wildlife Sanctuary?
Good morning, Dorothy Kaufman, Wildlife Sanctuary of Northwest Florida. We certainly appreciate all the support you've given us. Next year, for 22, we are in our 40th year as a nonprofit for a wildlife hospital and sanctuary, and your support's been a huge part of that. Any questions I can answer?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Health and Hope Clinic?
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for your time this morning. My name is Anna Causey, and I have the privilege of serving on the board of Health and Hope Clinic. I've been with them since 2009, and I am the current board chair. I appreciate your time this morning, and I trust that you guys have all thoroughly read all of the applications, so I'm going to skip through a lot of those details and just highlight some of the amazing work that our clinic is doing in the community. I'll lower this just a little. Established in 2003, Health and Hope Clinic opened its doors as a free and charitable clinic to provide health, hope, and healing to the uninsured and the underserved in Escambia County. Since that date, our history reflects a proven track record of quality care for the whole person using measurable outcomes and accountability. Last year alone, we provided over $5.5 million of medical and dental services through our 250 volunteers and community partners. For every dollar you give to Health and Hope Clinic, we provide over $10 of medical care. This is a tenfold return on your investment. How do we do this? First, I have to say it is by the grace of God that we have been successful, but it is also because of our volunteers and our leadership. Our success has come through partnerships and collaboration with both healthcare service providers as well as community nonprofit partners. Because of our amazing volunteers, which include doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, pharmacy staff, and lay people, our clinic is able to provide multiple services in-house to include primary care services, specialty care such as cardiology, dermatology, women's services and optometry, health education, dental services, which include cleanings, extracts, root canals, and restorations, over $2.8 million annually in prescription medications through our pharmaceutical company partnerships with Merck, Pfizer, Americares, and Direct Relief. And we now have in-house mental health services, which has seen a significant surge over the course of the pandemic through our in-house provider who can also prescribe medications. And we provide all of these at no cost to our patients. Additionally, because of our collaboration with our community healthcare partners, we are able to connect our patients for additional wraparound services such as lab work, x-rays and advanced imaging, vaccines both in our clinic and throughout the community. We are doing general immunizations through a CVS grant and COVID vaccinations through a National Association of Free and Charitable Clinic partnership in collaboration with AmeriCares and our local Department of Health. Mental health counseling, tobacco cessation classes, outpatient and inpatient surgeries, all provided at no cost to our patients. Our collaborations with University of West Florida, Go Argos, my alma mater, Pensacola Christian College, Pensacola State College, FSU Medical School, and FAMU Pharmacy School, we have opened our doors as a resource for the medical healthcare student community to provide unique hands-on experience not always available in a traditional medical setting. These partnerships have afforded many of these students local internship opportunities while also providing our clinic valuable volunteers. Additional partnerships with local nonprofit community have allowed Health and Hope to the privilege of providing healthcare services to vulnerable populations that receive services from Teen Challenge, Caris House, Ministry Village at Olive, Oasis, Opening Doors, A Future and a Hope, Baptist Healthcare's Faith Health Network, and St. Joseph's Clinic when they were forced to close their doors due to the pandemic. In addition to all of these partnerships, we are tackling the opioid epidemic by providing free Narcan and opioid education to anyone in the community. We are the only free distribution site in this region. Additionally, we have conducted outreach to provide Narcan through UWF and Pensacola State College Campus Police, The Secret Place, Gulf Coast Kids House, area churches, area drug treatment centers, Teen Challenge, Pathways for Change, other health clinics in our community, and later this year, we will begin distributing Narcan through the American Red Cross. And to over 1,000 individuals in our community have received Narcan. And we've actually had, I think it's been 9 lives saved through this so far. That number may be off, so don't hold me to that. Not only have we been very effective in bringing various organizations to the table to partner with and provide services, we have been recognized as an organization who is doing it the right way. We are the only free and charitable clinic in our region recognized by the Florida Association of Free and Charitable Clinics, and we recently received the gold status by the National Association of Free and Charitable Clinics, the highest standard given to charitable clinics. We are a certified partner with the United Way of Northwest Florida, having been heavily vetted and recognized as a fiscally responsible nonprofit. We are the only free health clinic that remained open during the entire pandemic, and in fact, we have extended our operating hours to 5 days a week because of the need. Despite the increase in cost of doing business due to the pandemic, you've heard all of the buzzwords, the PPEs, face masks, sanitizing gloves, and the increase in need. You've heard it today already. Because of unemployment, displacement, and homelessness, our clinic continued to keep our 1,000 plus patients out of the emergency rooms and urgent cares, saving our local government, businesses, and taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, just as we have over the past 18 years. We continue to expand our services to the community by increasing outreach to include Narcan, vaccine, food distributions, and much, much more. And we are always seeking new and better ways to serve our communities so that we may continue to serve the healthcare needs of our citizens. Because all of our staff salaries are already fully funded through other grant and fundraising opportunities, 100% of the funding received from Escambia County will go to direct patient care. Last year, you blessed us with $14,250 from the board and another $14,130 from the CARES Act, all of which were spent for direct patient care within the first month. This year, we are hopeful that you will consider funding the full $30,000, knowing that 100% will go to direct patient services and will be administered by an organization that has proven we are committed not only to quality care for all who need our services, but that we are willing and able to effectively collaborate with community partners to ensure we take care of the whole patient, supporting our citizens so they can become and remain productive members of our community. Thank you. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, we're going to flip back. I know that General Daniel Chappie James Flight Academy was looking at that figure on the next slide, but that's for the TDC, so you're there's an extra number in there, I know. You guys.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Cliff Curtis. I'm the president of the General Daniel Chappie James Flight Academy. Yeah, we just noticed that. It's been a big, we're not on that 4-cent slide. That is not us.
Right,
It
yes.
says Flight Museum, so I just want to make that clarification.
Yeah.
We're not, I don't know what that is, or we're not part of that, so just so everybody knows.
So you don't want that 100 grand?
We do, but we like to apply appropriately for it at the appropriate time. That'd be great.
Thanks. No, we understand the difference.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for your time this morning. We're very excited at the General Daniel Chappie James Flight Academy. We've been able to finally get back to some in-person stuff that we're going to be doing. We have been doing. We went back to in-person on our summer camp this past June, and we had 10 kids. We usually have about 30. But due to COVID restrictions and our facility being so limited, we were only able to accommodate 10 kids, boys and girls, this year. One of the reasons why we're asking for the increase of monies this year is because, and we're very grateful for what you guys and ladies have been able to allow us to do last year, is our facility is going to be expanded. The city of Pensacola has agreed on a second phase expansion for us behind the facility. It's going to be dedicated solely for the Flight Academy. And the reason for that is because we have just outgrown the current facility that we do have. And with the capacity limitations of how many people we can have in that physical space, this is going to be just a breath of fresh air for us moving forward. And we'll be able to accommodate and really impact more kids in the community with this space dedicated specifically for the Flight Academy. And in order to be able to put in the right equipment, simulators, everything that we need as far as being able to facilitate these kids in our program, this space is going to give us the office space required, the bathrooms, simulator space, the multimedia outlets that we'll be able to do to impact the kids. And as Commissioner Underhill, I'm glad you pointed out about being able to allow kids to grow in something that they're interested in. Contrary to what people may think, we're just not a pilot machine flight academy. We are a STEM-based program, and what we do is we really kind of steer kids towards what they're interested in via science, technology, engineering, and math. Just to give you an example, one of our graduates got his private pilot's license right when COVID hit, and he just graduated from University of West Florida in mechanical engineering. We've hooked him up with ST Engineering. They have some internship programs, and we're still trying to navigate with them on how that's going to work. It's been kind of some growing pains moving forward. And we know that the Pensacola site has some internships for high school students that we're kind of segueing our program and our kids into that direction as well. So our programming is just not making pilots, but it's allowing kids to kind of broaden their experience through our academy and what we have to offer. Another example is I have another young man who's in the University of West Florida right now, and we're waiting to see if he gets a private pilot's scholarship from the Air Force Association. He was unsuccessful in this initial process, but we're still waiting for some behind-the-scenes things to be able to allow him to reach his goals. So just to give you another example of someone outside of aviation that has been very instrumental in how they come back and serve us. One of our former students, her name is Adrianette Williams. She was a graduate of our program many, many years ago, and she's an attorney now in Tampa, Florida. And she has come back and offered her pro bono services to the Flight Academy with legal services to help us to be able to make sure we do the right thing. So our academy is really, really excited about broadening our experiences for the kids in the Pensacola community and being able to allow them to come in and learn and interact with each other and be able to grow as responsible citizens, not only for Pensacola, but wherever they choose to go. So these monies that we're requesting will go a long way in allowing us to be able to continue that great work that we're doing. And oh, by the way, August 7th, come by and see us, please. Open house for commissioners and council people. We're having a backpack giveaway at the Flight Academy from 12 to 3. And we've already raised the monies that have exceeded what we needed to put on that event. So we are encouraging the community to get involved to help us and support us in these events instead of going to the well every time to try to get money. So we're trying to get community involvement, and we have been very successful with that. So we appreciate your time. If you have any questions for me, I'm ready. Also got my financial manager, Ms. Paula Griffin, back there for the nuts and bolts if you have some questions about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. E-Comfort?
Good morning.
Morning, Mrs. Dale. How you doing?
All right, all right. Well, this is the first time that we have asked the county commissioner for funds for Epps Christian E-Comfort. Our program has been a fixture and an asset to Escambia County for the last 15 years. But our needs have gotten greater because of COVID-19. We have been operating on a shoestring budget, with most of the monies coming out of my pocket over the last 15 years. Right now, we distribute over 50,000 pounds of food every month and serve between 3,000 to 4,000 residents, including children. Our funding, if approved, will be used to provide a program manager to help us oversee our program. We currently have a resource manager that not only helps us with distributing food, but is available to help our residents with ideas, referrals for help for housing and other services in our community. So this will help her continue to do what we're doing in that area, as well as oversee the food distribution. It would also help us to purchase food and operating supplies from Feeding the Gulf Coast and other area businesses such as Sam's. We distribute food twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. It gets hard on us because we distribute food twice a week, and our residents come twice a week. We also serve hot breakfasts to homeless and anyone that's in need every day from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. We also have open table events where we give out food monthly. We also partner with, in addition to partnering with Feeding the Gulf Coast, we partner with the Farm Share from Gainesville, Florida, where they come down quarterly and brings in 40,000 to 50,000 pounds of food that we distribute. We are located, Epps Christian Center E-Comfort, in the zip code of 32505, which is the poorest area of Escambia County, and it's plagued with poverty, homelessness, drugs, crimes, and unemployment. And now, because the jail is right down the street from us, people, when they get out of jail, they come straight to us. People, when they come to in Escambia County Transit, they come straight to us. So we are known as a place that they can come to get food, get help with food, to get a meal. So not only, those are not concrete hours, because we are there from 6 a.m. to 5 and 6 o'clock in the evenings. And as long as we are there, people are always coming in asking for services. So your help would really, really help us continue to do what we are doing. Any questions?
Can you just state your name for the record, please, Ms. Tisdale?
Sir?
Just state your name for the record for the clerk.
My name is Pastor Sylvia E. Tisdale.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I'm the founder of Epps Christian Center E-Comfort.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner May?
No, I was saying I get the opportunity to watch you on Sunday morning sometime on your Facebook.
Thank you.
On your services. I know the work that you do.
Thank you.
Well, I've noticed how many times they've, when the food truck comes and all the distributions that they've been doing.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people.
I haven't made it by for some fried chicken on a Friday lately, though.
Yeah, it's getting really, the need is really great. And I'll let you all know, you were invited to save the date. I will be 70 in October of this year. But what I do really helps me more than it helps the people, because it gives me purpose and a passion. When I go to bed at night, I have a passion to wake up in the morning, something to do that keeps me going. And I do wake up with Mr. Hill in the morning. We wake up 3:30 to 4 o'clock in the mornings. So, but it's a great thing that we do, and I love doing what we are doing, and we will continue to do it. So your help would really help us get a program manager. We just received last year a grant from Impact 100 for $106,000. We have, you can come by and see it, we have a walk-in freezer, we have a walk-in cooler, so that when these trucks come in from Feeding the Gulf Coast or Farm Share, we are able to save food to distribute to people whenever they need it.
Perfect.
And thank you, Sister Tisdale. I was there at the grand opening of the freezer, and that was pretty exciting, and thanks for the invitation. I appreciate
I
being
think,
there.
didn't we give some discretionary money?
I think from time to time, I think
Yes.
each of us have, yeah. I know you have, Mr.
I
Chairman.
know,
and I
usually
have
for the
as well.
Thanksgiving meal, I think
Yes,
is also,
yes.
yeah.
Yearly, we have Thanksgiving, we partner with Council on Aging, and they give us a list, and we go out to feed, take plates, home-cooked meals, Thanksgiving meals to the people that get Meals on Wheels, in addition to feeding the people on the grounds.
Perfect.
She's a perfect cook, Mr. Chairman, so as you said, if you want some good
I know.
southern
Yeah, we
southern
do
fried
Southern
chicken,
fried
yeah,
chicken.
you should get it with Ms. Tisdale. But, yeah, we have supported her in our discretionary, and we do appreciate you, Ms. Tisdale. You were part of our Small Business Expo a couple weeks ago, and that you were there, and so we appreciate you
Well,
attending.
I do appreciate Escambia County, Pensacola, because we had a break-in 2015, and people took all of our turkeys and tore up the building, but Pensacola came together, and we were able to continue to serve that Thanksgiving meal. And Pensacola loves me, and I love Pensacola. And so we're going to be here doing what we do, so with your support, we'll be able to do it even better. So we thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just hope when I'm 70, I can be that good of a fundraiser. I mean,
Sisters of Hope Corporation?
Good morning.
Morning.
How y'all doing?
Fine, thank you. Yourself?
I am the founder of Sisters of Hope. It was founded by the Scott sisters who did 16 years and 32 days for a crime they didn't commit. But despair and despise of the injustice, we moved here.
Can you just state your name for the record, too? Sorry.
Okay. My name is Gladys Scott. I am the founder of Sisters of Hope Corporation, known by the Scott sisters who did 16 years and 32 days for a crime they didn't commit. But despair and despise of the injustice we done, we founded Sisters of Hope, where we provide GED classes. We also provide GED-ready classes, job training, workforce skills. And we also, I'm so nervous because it's our first time speaking and requesting for money. Because
You put our
usually,
pant legs on one leg at a time, too, so don't worry about it, all right?
well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Our service at Sisters of Hope, we provide for low income, disability, returning citizens, and we also, for veterans, we feed the veterans and we feed the homeless. But we are here today because our program have expanded. Our value for GED classes and GED prep classes, we would take this funding so we could be able to get a bigger space, technology, software, and be able to pay salaries to our teachers. Not only with this funding, which y'all be helping us, but you will also be helping your community. They will be able to be provided with better jobs. They will be provided with a GED, which is high school diploma. And they could also go to college, and we have partnered up with Pensacola State College, who provide the classes for us at night, and the trades and the skill if they want to go on. We also provide bus passes for the low incomes who cannot come to class, who can't afford it. So we at Sisters of Hope sponsor them. It's $128 to take the GED, and it's $30 for take the practice. Sisters of Hope, our community, grants, donations. That's how we sponsor our students. And not only that, we inspire them to reach their goals. Just because you're a returning citizen don't mean that your life is over. Look at me. I'm a living witness. We have been successful on numbers of participants who pass the GED. We want to be able to get them a graduation. We want to be able to, if they need our assistance in anything, we never turn nobody down. So with this funding, not only will you be helping our community, but you will be helping our jobs for them to get better employment so they can live an honest, living, decent life. They can be able to sit down and talk with their children and be able to help their children with their homework. Because 50% of reentry, our community do not have a high school diploma. And most employees is looking for employees that receive their high school diploma. So we are asking you, could you please fund us so we can keep on doing the work that we do. That's providing GED classes, GED readiness, workforce skills, job training, and counseling. Is there any questions? And we would love to y'all to come see our center. We have just opened up a GED in 321 North DeVilla Street. We're on the second floor. We're in Suite 212, and we also, through grants and donations, and Pensacola State College, Pro Health College, all supporting us and believing what we did. We just opened up a GED lab where we can get them in there. If they don't want to go to class, then they could come in where we test them. We test them on TABE tests, and once we see their scores, if they GED ready, then we provide the software for they can take their pre-GED. If they pass it, then we can schedule them to go to Pensacola State College to take their GED.
Perfect. Thank you. Again, we won't have any decision today. That'll come in September when we have our budget hearings.
Yes.
But appreciate you coming down today.
Yes, I thank y'all, and y'all please come by. We at 321 North Davila, Suite 212 and 218. We would love for each one of y'all to come see what we do every day for our community.
All right, thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Scott, thank you for sharing your story. When she said that there were 2 people that was falsely incarcerated and were exonerated and made national news, the famous Scott sisters. And thank you for sharing your story in the community center with our young ladies and our children. It means a lot. I mean, I think a lot. I was inspired
Yes.
after that meeting, and just please keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, we are. We trying to make the quality of life and helping everybody that we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Reap?
Good morning. I'm Vinnie Wibbs, Executive Director of the Reentry Alliance Pensacola, and we're here to talk a little bit about our request for $200,000 to jumpstart a day reporting center. Having sat through the first several minutes of these presentations, I find myself in the unenviable position of being the largest requester for funds as a new applicant. And I might say, yeah, why would I be so presumptuous to ask that? And I would just say this, that about 2013, REAP was started by a couple of volunteers working in their own cars and using their own phones. This year, our budget will be in excess of $1,300,000. We're serving an awful lot of people. We've served almost 1,000 individuals returning from incarceration. We are constantly looking at new and exciting ways to improve the administration of justice, the efficient administration of justice in our community. We have looked at day reporting centers in several locations, and we feel like this would be an opportunity to improve the justice administration in Escambia County, and could certainly result in the saving of a considerable amount of funds for our community. We consider ourselves a very great community partner. We try to make sure that the funds that are donated, appropriated to our organization, are well spent. We look forward to any questions that you might have. Sometimes you wonder why we should start a brand new program. And I would say to you that, you know, it's kind of like that movie, Field of Dreams. If you build it, it will come. Sometimes you say, how do we get started? We are proposing a way to get the day reporting center started for Escambia County.
Sure.
Thank you.
So is this a one-time request then?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we feel like it should be a one-time request, because once we believe that we get started, we can make it self-supporting.
Okay. And then I know there's a lot of collaboration amongst all the groups that are trying to help homelessness. And this is in conjunction with them, and I know you guys have just gotten some money.
Sure. We just opened up what I'm going to call a homeless shelter over on S Street in kind of cooperation with the Salvation Army. We had a grand opening last Thursday, and we actually will start bringing in people on the 1st of August. 52-bed facility, but it could fit in with this. As people are coming out of the county jails, a lot of them still need a place to go. We've got facilities. That's all part of the program.
Yeah, I had a chance to tour the Kearney Center over in Tallahassee, and I think it is, as we talk about homelessness, and that a day reporting center or one that really provides services to get IDs, to get Social Security benefits started, et cetera, is a step in the right direction.
Thank you very much.
So,
but we know the system works, because right now we operate on about a 90% success rate. So that's verified by the Florida Department of Corrections.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Vinny.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Studer Community Institute.
Good morning.
Morning.
Reggie Dogan, Program Manager, Studer Community Institute. We are coming to request $25,000, and it says first new applicants, but we did request in 2020 and received $20,000. If there are any questions, I answered them. I can also turn it over to Amber because she knows just as much as I do about this. Nobody?
No.
Any questions?
I don't have any at this time.
No, it's great working with you guys out in Marina Court, in Mars Court, and I know the work that you do, and we appreciate it, and the partnership
Absolutely.
with Community Health and some of the same children that we work with down at Legion. You're working with the mother, so we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you so much.
All right. And tell Shannon hello.
I will. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so next up is Visit Pensacola. We do have some handouts to provide to each of you.
Sure.
And then David is also going to pull up for us the information that was sent by Visit
Okay.
Pensacola.
And I was just going to maybe go ahead and take these few at the 4 cent ones real quick.
You want to take the others first?
Yeah,
Okay.
let me just do those real quick.
Okay, David, I apologize if you'll switch back over. And then,
I'm going to start with so board, this is the, I'll just talk in general terms right now for the budget. This is, has been proposed by, by the TDC, knowing that with some of these, it's our discretion as well. But the TDC did meet last week and moved this to the board for their decisions. So starting off is the Five Flags Sertoma, which is the fireworks that for the 4th of July.
Good morning. I'm Lucy Stovey. I'm the chairperson for Sertoma 4th of July. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for your support over the years, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have for me.
Okay, how was the event this year?
Pardon me?
How was the event this year?
It was great. It was a little different than we had in 2019, but we put more money into the fireworks, which we had a fantastic fireworks display. And at our headquarters, we had several people come up and tell us how much they enjoyed the event.
Okay. Did we pay extra for the fire?
We did, yes.
No,
Yeah.
glad nobody was hurt and that we were able to continue and have that go off, so.
Yeah, we had over $55,000 in fireworks this year.
Okay, well, great. So, board, any comments? Okay. All right, thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you. Have a good day.
African American Heritage Society, is she on Teams? Okay. I don't think we can hear you, though. Let's make sure we got our,
There we go.
There we
How's
go.
that? Okay, well, good morning. Thank you so much for allowing me to participate virtually via Teams this morning. And I'd like to also thank you for your continued support over the years. As you know, we've just completed our 30th year and are moving into our 31st year of service. We're continuing to provide the opportunity for cultural tourism in Escambia County. We provide the opportunity for the cultural tourism for the entire Gulf Coast community, as well as Northwest Florida. As many of you may know, there are no other galleries or programs like ours any place other than Montgomery, which is a lynching-focused cultural tourism museum. And then there is nothing else. There had been one in Mobile, which has closed. I think they are preparing another one that will open possibly in the next 10 years. But there is nothing else. So we have, in this past year particularly, received more visitors than I can tell you from other cities and states. As the elephant in the room, as a result of what happened around this time last year, which created a cultural awareness and awakening, so to speak, there has been a significant number of people of all walks of life who are more interested in learning more about their co-citizens. They want to understand more in terms of, history, as well as how we got here, and certain things that they have heard about not necessarily in school, but know exist, but don't really understand. And so this year, we co-curated an exhibit with the University of West Florida's Historic Trust to educate not just our own community, but all of those folks that I have mentioned within the region to provide a picturesque, if you will, something that is not just a lecture, but something that they can go see, read, and become informed on many of these things that they have indicated to us that they are interested in learning more about. In addition to that, we have continued to carry out the rest of our mission, which in 30 years, you know, that mission has been enlarged tremendously because of what I have already discussed, but we have as our mission to integrate African American history, heritage, culture, and diversity in the area, as well as supporting and promoting cultural tourism. So to that end, we have partnered with a number of organizations this year and every year to provide the services that we provide. We continue to buttress our exhibit with live speakers. We've had speakers every month. We made the digital shift very early last year at the advent of COVID, and we've continued to provide a combination of services, both in person when we had a decline in COVID. We saw an outpouring of people, as I said, from the community and outside of the community who took the risk to come out and see what we had prepared in person. And then we have continued at the same time to provide virtual programs and speakers. To that end, one of our speakers was presented in partnership with the National PEN Women Association, and that speaker was from Central Florida. And as a result of her own following, we also brought in those individuals from that area, and which was very rewarding. Also this year, we've had the opportunity to also be a part of the inaugural Juneteenth celebration. We did not know that it was going to be made a national holiday. However, we were happy to be in the forefront of providing the first Juneteenth city and county-wide celebration, which despite the heavy rains that morning did turn out to be an excellent event, well attended through the afternoon and into the early evening. That event was spearheaded by Pensacola State College, and then the University of West Florida and our organization co-sponsored by providing the resources to bring artists to the area to perform and participate. We also participated in the Middle Passage Remembrance and Port Markers project that you might have heard discussed by Sue Strawn and others on television. There was a wonderful turnout of events who came to the area to help us commemorate and place a permanent marker down at the DeLuna Square at the foot of Palafox Street to commemorate the site of the Middle Passage for this area, which was really a momentous occasion. And a good number of other cities are participating in this project, and we are one of a number who have now completed all of the steps. And so it's remarkable. And we did have our mayor there to say a number of words, say a few words, and it was, I think, a tremendous event for this area. We also, just this past weekend, of course, participated and partnered with the city and the county again for the bicentennial celebration. We were among those with a table there, and am pleased to report that we had approximately 450 visitors, is what I am told, who did stop by the table and receive materials from us that we made available to those who were interested and who registered. I have our visitor information forms that I always have with me, and just would like to report that this year we've had almost all 50 states represented in terms of folks who have actually either driven or flown to Pensacola to participate in the touring of the exhibit, and at the same time visit our gorgeous beaches. So with all of that said, after 31 years. We have, in the last 10 years, only requested and received one increase in funding. With the additional demands that are being made on the organization, we need to hire at least one other person to assist with the great deal of work that is involved with continuing to address the needs of the community. Because of the size of our exhibit, it is not able to be completely shown at our gallery. We have a very small gallery, and in light and out of respect for COVID-19 and our older volunteers, we did not feel that it would have been responsible to have the exhibit in those closed quarters. So we have partnered in the past year and look forward to doing so next year with other galleries that are larger, have greater possibilities for proper social distancing. We first partnered with our primary partner that we do so many things with, the University of West Florida's Historic Trust, to utilize the Voices gallery there, and that was a wonderful place to start. We now have the exhibit at Artel Gallery, where it has been for several weeks, and we have found that to be extremely beneficial because in addition to those hundreds of people who have intentionally come to see the exhibit, we now have the walk-in traffic of others who are incidentally also having the benefit of viewing the exhibit there. We are hopeful in the next season to continue these kinds of collaborations, but when we do that, we also have to have staff at these satellite locations as well as back at the office for administrative and other purposes, and those are positions that are paid positions. So we would like to, at this time, make ourselves amenable to any questions that you may have. Oh, I will also add that we have continued also with our Heritage Trail Guide because we believe that collaborations and partnerships are very important. And so when we have tourists coming from other states calling, and they call every day, all day, every day, they always ask, are there places that we can go to for dinner, for lunch, other things that we can do in addition to seeing your exhibit and going to the beach. And so to that end, we give them our Heritage Trail Guide, and we also specifically direct them to, Belmont de Villiers, East and North Hill, because we want to promote tourism in those areas also. We believe that if we, by connecting tourists with other businesses in the city and the county, it increases the tourism dollars collectively, thereby cultivating a network of local and area economic empowerment, which benefits all segments of the community ultimately, and thereby decreasing the burden on the budgets of local government. So we're committed to continue with those kinds of partnerships to the extent that we are able to continue. And to that end, we do need the funding that we are requesting, only the second increase in 10 years. So thank you.
Sure. Just out of curiosity, do you get the emails from the Tourist Development Council? Were you aware that we had some hearings with that council a couple weeks ago?
If we receive them, I'm not aware of it. I have attended in the past, but this year I don't recall receiving that information.
Okay, we'll just make sure that we have the right information, because I think it's, that board held some budget hearings, and it would have been nice to have you guys included in that. And I think part of that being is that I know with Visit Pensacola and what they're trying to do with some of the outside agencies that they support through a grant process, they are trying to focus some of those dollars more on marketing, and that also is something that they can help with. I'm probably putting them on the hook for it, but I think they want to, that's what they specialize in. And so if they can help you spend your dollars in a better way in terms of marketing or something like that, or reaching your customers, or making sure that it's we're just sending the right message that we want to send. So I encourage you to work with that. I know that with the West Florida Historic Trust, we've tried to help you with some grants previously, and it sounds like you have a great working relationship with them. So that's good. We just want to expand that and make sure that you can use all the tools and resources that comes with tourist marketing.
And Commissioner, if I may, I want to thank you for mentioning that, because I failed to mention this year we have actually added a very part-time position of adding social media, and that is really one of the reasons that our outreach has extended to the point that it has. We've increased our Instagram, our Facebook, as well as our Twitter messages, and for that reason, just yesterday, we received calls from people in California and New York who are planning trips down to Pensacola now. We have people calling literally from everywhere because of our social media expansion. And so any additional help that we can get in that regard, because there is an expense associated with that, we appreciate and we thank you for mentioning that.
Sure, and maybe it helps us track better the click rates and things like that, and can be used to again, just make sure that to see how we're doing in those, and seeing what's working, what's not working, and they may have some suggestions on that, or et cetera. So
right. And I can send you all our Google Analytics. That's how I have kept up with both the organic as well as the unintentional necessarily, the actual searches that's particularly put in the search bar, cultural tourism, and how many people find us as a result of that search, and then how many are organically coming to the African American Heritage Society. So we do have some Google Analytics on that, and that's how I have noticed the significant increase that has occurred since this time last year.
Sure. Darren, would that help you guys out? Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's share that with Visit Pensacola, and make sure we're all working in unison. Okay, any other comments? Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next is the Naval Aviation Museum.
Good morning. I'm Cindy McCaleb with the Naval Aviation Museum Foundation. Unfortunately, Admiral Kozad couldn't be here this morning. There's very few things that would keep him from this meeting, but one of them was his own board meeting. So unfortunately, you've got me this morning. The National Flight Academy is requesting the same funding that we have requested for several years now, and Escambia County has been an amazing partner to us, and we deeply appreciate that. Our additional ask is in marketing. As you know, with the terrorist attack that happened and then COVID that closed us down, we've really struggled with getting visitors back and getting visitors onto the base. We've come up with some really unique ideas on how to do that. One of the challenges that we are facing is letting the public know that we are open. I think if any of you have come to the base, you might have been turned around saying we're closed. And one of the things that we're trying to work with is the busing, seasonal busing here, and being able to get people onto the base via a busing system. So that's what we're trying to work with Darien and Visit Pensacola on, getting information out about exactly how to get on a very open museum that's on NAS Pensacola.
Sure. So board, this is the request we broke, the TDC board broke it down into two to indicate that it's the $100,000 that we've typically given. I think previously that was under an MOU, and highlight just the ongoing efforts that they're doing there. And then the additional request was to be focused on marketing, again, working in conjunction with Visit Pensacola.
Yes.
And to highlight this asset that we have that so many people do come to see. Either be it letting them know how we're going to get them on the base,
right,
and and just marketing it, so.
I think a lot of people don't realize that the museum is the largest tourist attraction between Orlando and New Orleans. So it's a great treasure if people realize that it's here.
Yeah. Commissioner Underhill?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. A longtime supporter of the Academy, and you know, it factored in very heavily on creating Cyberthon, which was an amazing asset for our children here. And I utilize the Academy anytime that we have folks coming from DC,
Yes.
and I want to show them that we are, that we have that caliber of product here in Escambia County. And that's why, at the beginning of my tenure here, I pushed for and we received a fixed $1 million support to the Academy of $100,000 a year, and I think that's a very unique level of support that this board has given. As I see the additional ask, though, that's a marketing ask. That's what Visit Pensacola is for, and we already fund a massive amount of marketing for Visit Pensacola. They have, and they should be, and this funding should come out of and be done in conjunction with Visit Pensacola. Our constant, well, at least my constant pressure of Visit Pensacola is to remember that we are much more than Pensacola Beach. And you know, we are also include the ecotourism of Perdido Key. We also includes the ethnic tourism of our fairly unique location within the Civil War and the Civil Rights strife. And we also includes our very unique position in naval aviation history. So I would say that for myself, and this is in my district and probably not a very popular position to take, but that $100,000 is an appropriate ask of Visit Pensacola with the money that they already have for marketing. Sure. Having it set aside is actually is deviating from our policy that really of the unified budget, and I would prefer to see it go through that same process so that we do not taint the Naval Aviation Museum with the appearance of a favoritism.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. And I would say that our board discussed that, doing much like what we did with the Sertoma, where we gave the $75,000 to Visit for fiscal year 20, with the tag that it was going there, and they will be working with Visit on spending this, but we also wanted to recognize, like we did with the fireworks, that's what it's for. So it's and that was a discussion of our board, but we ultimately decided to leave it as is.
To leave it as a separate ask?
To leave it as a separate ask, yes, sir.
Okay. No, we will all vote on that in accordance with our personal feelings. Sure. But yeah, again, Naval Flight Academy is and keep in mind, the Naval Flight Academy has an enormous amount of funding and support from the aviation community and from the Navy community, and that has certainly benefited our children quite a bit. But we've also run into some struggles over the years of tourism dollars are meant for tourism. And so when we ran into that problem of wanting to have some set-aside space at the Academy for our own local kids,
Sure.
Of course, that ran counter to that. So I'd be very careful about creating the appearance of a set-aside, the appearance of a special relationship that is not the same relationship that every other asker has as well.
And I think that was originally the request, but when we let them know what the TDC would like to see, we shifted that towards our marketing. And it's not just the Flight Academy, but the museum itself. And also with the hope of when parents bring their kids to the Flight Academy, we've marketed to them to where they want to stay for the week that they're down here. While their kids at the Flight Academy, that we're keeping them here, exploring Pensacola, while their kids on base, taking care of the programming. So I think that's some of the focus of the marketing dollars, and so.
And the more kids we get to the Flight Academy, the better the ROI is. I mean, they have to stay somewhere, and they're paying bed tax.
And again, I think there's also some other initiatives that the Flight Academy is taking on that could lead to a bigger ROI.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, okay. Any further questions?
Does the Flight Academy work with the Chappie James Flight Museum at all, or the Chappie James Flight Academy, do they work?
We have not.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you. West Florida Historic Preservation Board. So as Rob's coming up, I just want to say, I think it was a great celebration on Saturday of 200 years of Escambia County and state of Florida. So I appreciate all the effort that your board put towards that, and also the committee that saw the commemoration. So as I think the theme of the day was, why couldn't they, Andrew Jackson, have done this in November as opposed to July? But overall, it was still a great day, so appreciate that.
I will, and I'd like to say happy birthday, Escambia County.
Yes.
Because that's what we celebrated. Robert Overton, Executive Director of the University of West Florida Historic Trust, which is West Florida Historic Preservation Board. I do want to start off, Commissioner Bender, I'm not receiving any notices about TDC meetings either. I just did an email search and I can't find any. So,
Okay.
we were doing those about a year ago regularly, but I've sort of fallen off the
All
list
right, so we'll get with Tina and make sure she has the African American Society, and also, I'm looking at Angela, sorry, and then Rob's are also on there, so we'll just get with Tina.
So I just want to say quickly, this is a reminder, well, our request for $200,000 this year is down $25,000 because 25 is what this board gave us to help with this celebration that we just had. It was a partnership with the city, county, and then the state, and so we couldn't have done it without that support. We've taken it back to our normal ask. The museums that we operate, part of this ask is $130,000 to cover those. The other $70,000 is split between cemeteries that, at the request of this commission, we did a unified funding for them a few years ago. So, you know the organization. We've had a tough year with COVID. We had about $2.5 million worth of damage with Hurricane Sally, and in spite of all that, we've still been able to bring in over 100,000 visitors this year. And I would like to report that so for the last couple of months, our visitation has been up 30% over what it was pre-COVID. So people are flocking into the museums now. That was all I had, other than questions.
Okay, thank you. We're good. Thank you. So this is actually the General Daniel Chappie James. This is for the statue that we're looking at including. Which ones come up? So I'll just lead a little bit with this. Is that board? This is $100,000 towards the statue and the area around the landing of the new Pensacola of the Chappie James Bridge. And I'll let Butch take over.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Butch Hanson, I'm the treasurer of the Chappie James, General Daniel Chappie James Memorial Foundation. The last time we spoke to you, it was to gain your support to name the new Pensacola Bay Bridge for General James, and we certainly appreciate that support. And we were successful in getting the legislature to pass that, and the governor to name our new bridge for General Daniel Chappie James Jr., a local hero, the first African-American four-star in our military, in the Air Force. And he's a native son of Pensacola, and we want to take advantage of that. You know, it was a confluence of events that got our foundation together, and to want to do this for the right reasons to help bridge our community, if you would permit that metaphor. The confluence was we're getting a new bridge. We have identified gaps across our community in race and social status, et cetera. And everybody needs a hero, and what better hero than General Daniel Chappie James? So we've gotten this plan now. We've worked behind the scenes with the damage to the bridge, the pandemic last year. It was a difficult time to go out and raise money. But now we've talked to the Tourism Development Council a couple times. Behind the scenes, we've worked with the city, with FDOT. We've identified a site for a memorial plaza at the landing of the bridge in Wayside Park between the Visitor Center and the new flyover. The design we have will have a larger-than-life statue of General James, the F-4 Charlie aircraft that he famously flew in Vietnam, as well as a large flagpole and other historic facts about General James, his life and his legacy. And we've planned the dedication of this Memorial Plaza for September 18th of 2022, which coincides with the 75th anniversary of the United States Air Force. We believe this will be a national event. We've had the attention of the highest levels, United States Air Force and other people in the Department of Defense now. So we're starting to raise money for this plaza in earnest. Overall, we believe it'll cost about $900,000. Of course, there will be other in-kind donations, as well as significant contributions, we believe, from the Air Force. We have a couple leads on the aircraft, one from the Air Force, and they may pay to bring the whole thing here. Another one's from our Naval Aviation Museum. It would be a Navy airplane that we'd put a new nose cone on it to look like the F-4C of the Air Force, but that plane is available to us also. The statue is what we're looking at now, and that's also an exciting topic. It'll be a larger-than-life statue, and we've talked extensively with Mr. Ed Dwight, who has his own trailblazing history. Mr. Dwight was a renowned Air Force test pilot also, and was the first black American in the astronaut program. He is now a nationally renowned sculptor. You can find his works in many cities across the country. He knew General James, and he's anxious, as perhaps his last major project, to do this statue. And that statue, its design, development, the pedestal it'll stand on, its transport here and erection here in the Memorial Plaza would total about $300,000, which was our initial ask. But we're certainly grateful for whatever the commission would decide is appropriate. We think this is going to be a tremendous national attraction to put Pensacola on the map, not just the dedication ceremony, but the continued attraction for this significant Air Force memorial in our city.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I think part of being able to do this would be that this board states that this is a tourism-related expenditure, in the sense that, one, we are looking to do this by the September 2022 deadline, so that we can capitalize on the anniversary of the birthday and also what General James meant to the Air Force. And so if this board determines that is a worthy cause, then you agree that this would be
That is the #1 requirement under the statute. This board controls, not the Tourist Development Council. You are in full control of all 5 cents, with a partnership and recommendation from the TDC on the 1st and 2nd cent, which is under the plan. So you are correct, Chairman. With your words of this is tourism, this will be approved through us.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And I think that outside of just the I don't say ribbon cutting, but the opening of the area, we think that this will have a continued tourism mission and support as reunions, groups, et cetera, come from all over to see this statue along with our other memorials that we have along the bayfront.
Yes, absolutely. We attract, I'm also a founding member of the Veterans Memorial Park Foundation. We have a significant attraction there of veterans groups that visit Pensacola for their reunions. Almost all of them do memorial ceremonies for their loss down at Veterans Memorial Park, which will be in close proximity. This will add an additional attraction. We get plenty of Navy and Marine groups, being the cradle of naval aviation. We believe that the Air Force will also see this now, particularly in our close proximity to our neighbors to the east and that large Air Force facility. They're very interested and very involved in this project also.
Okay. And then board, much like with REAP earlier, we believe this to be a one-time ask.
Yes.
So, okay. Commissioner Underhill?
Thank you very much. When this comes before us, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that you separate out the statement on the part of this board about the appropriateness for tourism, because that's something that I think that especially, if anybody has any disputes about that, just go look at the license plates in the Naval Aviation Museum parking lot on any given day. So I'd be happy to vote for that. I was one of the, having said that, and the reason I would ask you to separate out that from the funding is that when I was one of the first to come out, with our good friend, the Marine captain, that, as we pushed for the name change. I was very vocal about that name change. I was and reached out to all of my supporters to support that. It was the appropriate thing to do and something I was very proud of. During all of those conversations back then, Captain, I said that support ends at the point where we start spending public dollars for the monument part. The monument part was supposed to be completely privately funded. And I'm going to keep true to my word with regard to that, and I won't be able to support spending taxpayer dollars on the monument, just because I'm pretty consistent. So, still very much a supporter of of everything that we've done there. There was a public funded lift, and a private funded lift, and for me, I'm going to stay very true to those divisions that I stated early on as part of my support. Thank you very much.
Commissioner May?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bruce, thank you, and Chris Joseph, and all the work that you're doing. I know you've worked tirelessly for this museum. And as we get ready to move this forward, as the chairman, I would assume, is bringing it, Bruce, who would be responsible for measuring the impact of tourism? Would that be Visit? Since we're allowing, who's going to calculate that, track that, the impact on tourism for the ROI, sort of like PSA does for PSA and Visit does, for the events. As we bring this, who would give us the benchmark and the measurement so we wouldn't be able to see the
I think
impact?
we'd be working in conjunction with,
Yeah,
of course.
because if we're saying as a board, we kind of don't do that as a county. We don't have staff that does that. Visit does that. And so I'm just saying, with this, who would be responsible for reporting the impact on tourism? I see Pam's getting ready to answer.
I really think you ought to look to Visit. They spend probably $550,000 on their marketing tools to get those trend analysis and the deliverables that you want to see. And I see him shaking his head. That would be a perfect partnership on all of these type of events.
Right. And I guess kind of that's Visit's job.
Right, and with the opening of the monument, I think we'd be able to capture some. We would have an idea of how many room nights and the financial impact of that one event. Of course, as groups come and hold reunions or want to come visit, that would be one thing. I think it would be harder just to know the day-to-day. I'm sure we can probably capture some of that. Visit does surveys throughout the year and finding out why people came, and so that would be factored in. So there would probably be some groups and specific things that would be able to give you a hard count. Much like we probably know with Sunbelt, that we know that the teams and the fans have acquired so many rooms, and we can pull the zip code data off of credit cards and things like that, you know, so that would probably go into some type of knowing how many visitors are coming.
Yeah, and I'd love the impact. I mean, one of the things, I remember when we're going there, I've been a true champion of all of the Chappie James events, and that was kind of a tough time here on the dais. Will this be completely a lift by tourism dollars, or will there be some private dollars involved in this as well?
I'll just say, so the initial request was for 300, and the TDC is at 100 right now, and asked them to.
So they're going to put 200, and TDC's going to put 100?
No, TDC's putting 100 in, so they think the entire project will be about 900.
Oh, okay. So it's okay.
Right.
No, and the only reason I say it because Commissioner Underhill is accurate in his statement of what he did say. So, I mean, if that's what you're bringing forth, Robert, I mean, if you were only giving 10%, then,
Yeah,
or 5%, I mean, if
that's
there's a
what the
public benefit.
Yep, that's what the board voted for. It's not just me, but it's the TDC board voted in favor of this. And
So the whole project's $1 million, and TDC is just
Roughly.
putting 100,000 in.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And then, and that's also to help them try to hit those deadlines and timelines to start getting the
It's about 9 months to develop the statue and get
to
it
get
in.
the statute going. And so as they.
So you have the 900 in hand, and you just need the
No.
100,000 to get you over the hump?
No, the total project should be about 900, so just under $1 million. They are starting their efforts for fundraising. And so this is to go ahead and get that started and.
So what happens if they don't raise the other money?
We think that
We'll raise it.
they'll raise it.
As General James' mother said, thou shalt not quit.
Wow.
So.
I have nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we hope that this is a commitment from our community that shows the value of this and also helps get them jump-started on that fundraising activity to show that there is local community buy-in as they go to corporate sponsors, and then, of course, also just.
So you hadn't started your fund, you don't have anything now, you hadn't started your fundraising?
We don't have significant funds yet. no.
Wow.
But lots of interest.
Yeah. Good intentions.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Butch.
Thank you.
Amber, let's go ahead and pull up the, probably should have, go ahead and shown,
These,
no,
no?
the,
Okay. We're doing the OpenGov version, correct?
I want to break down with the BCC County Administration and the overall.
All right, David. So this may or may not get us what we want to see.
All right, here, make some copies, Angela.
Yeah.
So I'll just speak to it then as we go through it, but, thank you. So we have the BCC outside agency allocations, which we just heard from. And then we also have the BOCC County Administration, various pennies. So one, we said we wanted to continue to go ahead and fund the 1.5 million that we do for operation of the Bay Center, which also includes $200,000 in capital improvements. We have the beach mowing contract that we put in a year and a half ago at $125,000. We have some projects on the beach, including renovation of some Park West pavilions, painting of the water tower. For those of you that don't know, the water tower is not operable. It is strictly a icon for Pensacola Beach, hence the tourism-related aspect of that, of $845,000 for those various projects. Marine Resources is at $325,000, which is a little bit more than last year. We have the county administrative costs at 3%, coming in at $461,000. And then the board has supported also a $500,000 beach renourishment that I would like to put in a separate fund that is strictly for beach renourishment to be used as it continues to grow and we work towards the need for beach renourishment on Pensacola Beach. So those, Angela's handing that out now. That's the BOCC part. And actually, oh yeah, sorry, because she has the updated one. The other thing that we did include, that I asked them to include, is that previously we'd been spending the $1.3 million for payment of the Bay Center. And so we, as a board, had asked to put those into reserves. And so they did, the TDC did go back in and add the $1.3 million for that. We did have a discussion on that, and that, you know, we would like to have that either as projects for rehab of the current Bay Center, come up for discussion on using that money. And then also, as we look at new facilities, be it an athletic, sports, tourism related, or the other needs. And I think our board had a very robust discussion on that, I think 2 weeks ago. And so those are the BOCC, County Administration section of the TDC. Are there any questions on that?
No, I just want to make sure it stays in reserve until we decide what we want to do. I mean, I don't want that money touched. I mean, that 1.3, to me, doesn't even need to be looked at. We talked about a facility for years, whether it's a convention center, a sports center. We've gotten it, take it out, put it in reserves. For me, that's my vote.
Sure.
I mean, until we decide where we want to go. I don't even want it to be in any way that anybody can look at that 1.3.
Right.
And so I'll take it out the budget, put it in reserves for my vote.
Right, and that's essentially what we're doing, is putting it in reserves, and that's why we had the line item for Bay Center. It said operations, but we made it clear that we wanted it to be a
right. Well, what I don't want to do is set it over here in operations, Robert, and then, you know, a light bulb goes out or a AC unit goes out, and I mean, in that aging building, and we started making repairs and operations when we're trying to ultimately reach a goal of getting a new facility. And so
I think we're looking at it both ways. So I know Michael Capps is working on a plan on what we can do for the Bay Center itself, if that's the direction we wanted to go in.
And that's fine for whatever Mike wants to work on. But again, I mean, I think that Mike working on a plan, or anybody working on a plan for renovations or anything, is gonna, those reserve dollars needs to come from a direction from this board of what we want to do.
Yes, sir. We wouldn't spend it without direction from this board.
Right. Well, I wouldn't want them to plan it, because to me, it puts us in a tough situation. If someone comes back with a renovation plan with this money, and they've laid out and expended capital and time for a major renovation, but at the same time, someone else group is looking of this sports arena. I mean, we just got to decide, because the 1.3 may not be enough. Maybe we need to put a little more money for the renovations of the Bay Center and one for the sports arena. But I just don't want, it could easily, I mean, we know, I mean, we've had enough studies, even before you on the board, or I was on the board, we've had multiple studies of what it would cost to repair, replace the Bay Center, and that 1.3 is just a drop in the bucket. We could use that in just renovating bathrooms. I mean,
right.
we spent $900,000 on a scoreboard. So what if Sunbelt comes back next year and they need, 2 scoreboards? So we got to do this, and that money is not reserved. And so then we figure out that we're going to spend this on the Sunbelt to put in new seats, because the seats are not soft enough. I just think if we're not careful, we'll never get to the point where we're building the convention center or the sports arena.
Sure. And again, I think that's up to our board to decide.
Right, and that's all
as they
I'm
bring
saying.
those forward, and I think as we said, we could bond those and know that we have the 1.3 being set aside right now for that, and that's why it was important that I made sure that it was included in this budget, because that was the direction our board wanted to go in.
Right, and obviously, Madam Clerk said it, very clearly. The ultimate decision is this board, and we do appreciate the service of the TDC. But the unfortunate thing is, they're not the ones that someone has to pull a lever for to vote. So, I mean, it has to be a recommendation, and I don't think that we're gonna. I can't speak for anybody else. That we're gonna just take a recommendation, line for line from the TDC. Although we appreciate all of their services. Sure. That's important to this community, and I know what's important to my constituents that I serve. And I know that this new building, convention center, arena that we talked about for years is very important. So I just don't want to give false hope to the hockey. I mean, he does a great job. I mean, he has a lot of needs. I mean, he needs another sheet of ice. I mean, and so we could easily find ourselves spending 1.3 every year on the Bay Center without a real plan. So that's all.
And Commissioner May, I will tell you that the statutes encourage a reserve, and when we poll throughout the state, we find that lots of them have healthy reserves. The amount that goes to their visit is somewhere around, usually less than 40%, and it's usually upwards of 60% that's spent on buildings, arenas, sports facilities. That's just what we found, but I just wanted to tell you that is according to statute.
I appreciate it, and thanks, ma'am. And Pam, when you say that, how do we correlate, you said in other parts of the state, it's 40, 60. What's the percentage here in Escambia County?
65% goes to Visit Pensacola. I think your budget shows about 73% this year. We are really high compared throughout the state. At some point, this board is really going to take serious what they'll need to do with infrastructure, both the beach and the Bay Center or a field house.
Right.
There's other things you can do, but that's. I just want you to.
No, that's good information, Pam. I mean, I didn't know that. I didn't know that ratio. I mean, for state. No, thank you. That kind of helps me. So I appreciate it.
Provide you an analysis.
Part of that was that.
Yeah, would you? I mean, that would help.
Part of that is that.
Thanks, Pam.
When we put in the 5th cent, we said the first year was going to visit. So they have 7 months of 100% of the 5th cent.
So before the 5th cent, Pam, we were probably in line with the other counties in the 40, 60 before we allocated.
No, other counties only spend probably less than 40% with their visit promotion and 60% on their capital infrastructure and reserve portion.
Wow.
We have been trying to get there, but COVID, times change. You just got to decide what your priorities are, according to this board.
Now, I don't know if
Thank you.
that 40% that she references includes like a 1.6 for ACE and 963 for Pensacola Sports.
That is all tourism, so that does become
So,
part
okay,
of
so
their
you're
visit.
lumping that in there, okay.
And marketing reserves are popular, capital reserves are popular. So I heard it in the TDC meeting where they were talking about marketing reserves. That is popular, and it is permitted.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
I think that's probably, Robert, I mean, you represent us on the TDC. I mean, what Pam just said, honestly, I was not aware of, and that's great information. But that's something that probably we would talk with our partners, and then I see Darren there, in forecasting for the future. Because at some point, you have to invest in capital. I mean, you only have to build a house one time. You only have to build, a convention center one time. And so you may have to, adjust for a couple of years to get the infrastructure and superstructures that we need to market. I mean, so if we never have the facilities to market, I mean, marketing at some point, I mean, we can only market the beach so much. I mean, there's only so many, people that you can squeeze on an island.
Sure.
I mean, if you're going to expand tourism, we got to expand it.
we're squeezing a lot on there. We almost had another 22,000 car day on Saturday.
Right. I mean, you can't make any more land. It's a barrier island. I mean, God put a barrier between land, man, and water. I mean, some people ignore that. But if you're going to extend tourism, it's not just going to be downtown Pensacola or the beach. I mean, it's a cultural city of West Side, of up north, of rural land, of sports. I mean, so we gotta think out of the box, and we can't put all of our resources into the beach in downtown.
No, and and they shouldn't be, so.
And we can't market all just the beach in downtown.
I agree. But I'd also say those that as, and I'll
And you
let
gotta look
Darren
downtown, I
talk.
represent downtown just as you
Yep.
do.
And I'll let Darren talk in a second, but, we have, as with some of the monies from the Fifth Cent, I think they'll be asking if they can put that aside in a reserve account for future years, which, I think as we said yesterday, Jeff, I would support that in the sense that, I'd rather them spend it wisely than spend it.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to force them to spend it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I encourage that. Just as we set aside reserves for our needs, I do believe that Visit Pensacola should be setting aside reserves for their needs.
Well, whatever reserves we set aside, it should always be available to Visit. We're all one. We're not two entities, and so.
Well, both though.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, Visit, they shouldn't have to reserve. I mean, whatever we have in reserves, it's at their disposal.
I think that,
And I'm not saying that they
Right.
can just walk in and get it, but I don't care if they get reserves because we don't want people to spend money recklessly. But at the same time, I mean, if we got money in reserves and we have a pandemic, an epidemic, or a storm, and we got to give more money, I mean, we need to do that. The money is for tourism and promotion.
and I think that was the discussion, is that it's money that's already been allocated and budgeted them, and that if they had their, a separate reserve that was monies that had already been given to them, that, again, I could support, and then hopefully they would go to that first before having to come to the general reserve, which is maybe something that, again, this other reserve could be something above the 1.3 that we're putting in right now.
Right.
For the Bay Center or other improvements.
Right.
But
Well, Pam just recommended, maybe you could have marketing reserves or
yes,
capital.
and that's where I think our board, and I see Mary out here, that's where our board went. So Mary's a new member on our board, and she's gone through a lot in the last 3 meetings that she's already been a part of. But if there isn't any,
Yeah, I'm fine with your recommendation, Robert. I just want to express what I can vote for and what I'm.
sure. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Darren on the unified budget then. Sorry, Darren, I want to add one more thing. So at the top of this, we can also see that we expect to collect more than what we budgeted for. So we are pulling 1.5 of that forward. We do expect to put the rest of that into the reserve account because we have not put reserves in the last 2 years. So, all right, thanks.
Good morning. Darren Schaefer. I'm the president and CEO for Visit Pensacola. And here today representing the unified budget request, which has been a great partnership between Visit Pensacola, Pensacola Sports, and ACE. And the budget that we're talking about is based on a recommendation of the TDC, and I appreciate all the members of that council and the work that they've done as we work through some of the very interesting last 2 years. And I think this, as you note, this request is going to be our largest as an organization, but it's an amount that's going to allow us to build upon the 2020 comeback that we're currently going through. And looking forward to answering some questions as we go through this. Pam, I would love also to get a copy of the budget breakouts that you just recently mentioned about the 40-60% being the average, because I would love to take a look at that. I know in Escambia County, historically, 65% of the TDT has been going to the unified budget, which has allowed us to grow those dollars on an average of 8% a year, which was the promise that had been made when Visit Pensacola split from the Chamber of Commerce and eventually created the unified budget. I'd also just say that some of our peers to the left and right of us have budgets that are double and triple ours, and I definitely understand why in those cases where they would be able to set aside large chunks of money for tourism destination development, which is something we would certainly support. We had provided 2 documents. This is the first one, which is basically showing the unified budget and specific detail for Visit Pensacola, and you'll see line items for Pensacola Sports and ACE under direct programming, operations, and personnel costs. The second sheet that was provided is more of that detail than for those two organizations. So those are the two documents that are before you. As you go through, there are some items that we've made some significant increases, and I'm really excited about, despite the challenges of the last year, how our marketing efforts have continued to be refined and focused in our work with Showcase. Being new to the organization and the destination, every day is an opportunity that we're building working relationships. I do appreciate the commissioners that have been able to speak with on the phone or meet in person and get your thoughts and incorporate that into our programming. And as we go into next year, there are several areas that I'm taking those thoughts into consideration. Showcase is one of our biggest expenditures at $3.28 million. That in particular is up about 31%. And about, it's 31% of our, and a half of the budget. It's up 20.7% over our last fiscal year. We'll be doing some bigger campaigns with these dollars, similar to what we were able to accomplish in 2019. One's an SEC marketing campaign this fall, coincides with the college football season, working with ESPN. We have started and we want to continue promoting Pensacola direct flights, the new carriers, the new routes, those fly markets. This August and September, due to the recent supplement of the 5th cent from April through June, collected May through July, allowed us to do a late summer push for August and September. We typically see our August numbers start to drop into September due to the return of the school year, so we're really targeting those folks that aren't influenced by the school calendar and encouraging them to extend their summer. Like I said, I think we've done some smart targeted campaigns. We definitely have been doing our research to connect with our visitors. What is the primary draw? What are the emotions? How do they talk about our destination? And going forward, we're going to have an opportunity to expand and connect with all of our tourism segments. So I've been hearing comments earlier from our peers that are in history and culture, and we'd be setting aside dollars specifically to work with them to expand that aspect of our destination appeal. One thing that I think we have an opportunity, and to be honest, we really cut back on our marketing during the summer months. We're very well aware of the attraction to the beach and how busy they are, and so we typically target the months outside of that. We see an opportunity to really develop a snowbird campaign. Those are the folks that come here and stay 2, 3, 4 months, and that has not been something that we've had really a consistent effort in the past, and it's high time to do that, and I think that'll really have an impact throughout the county. In going through this, I'm happy to answer any specific questions, but our organization, Visit Pensacola, and to the whole unified budget exists to benefit the county, develop strong working relationships. With me here today, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Wandy Samuel, our accounting manager on staff, Nicole Stacy, our director of marketing communications. Ray Palmer is here with Pensacola Sports as well, and are also available for questions if need be. We again try to spend as much of the budget in the direct programming, the marketing of the county, so 80% of those dollars are invested in the direct programming. 4.7% is operations, and personnel costs is just under 15% for Pensacola Sports, including Visit Pensacola. I'm happy to discuss additional line items as we go through.
The chair of the TDC is also back there, if I can.
Here.
So, okay. Board, are there any questions on the line items as presented? Okay. Do you wish to hear from Pensacola Sports, or just as a part of the unified budget that works? Okay. All right. Chair, would you like to say anything on any of the comments that I made regarding anything about the TDC? Okay.
You did say ready to come up, right?
Yeah, Ray's welcome to come up, but I think the thumbs up meant you're good. Okay.
Commissioner Bender, I would like to bring something to your attention, Darren, and this has to do with something the commission has requested, and I want to make sure that it's communicated because Darren is new, and that is your solicited bid for your marketing. In this case would be Showcase. I just want to remind you that your chair has requested a auditor general audit that may or may not come, but one of the things they look at is your procurement process.
Sure.
You may not know this, but this board has requested a demand that you follow their procurement process. I'm not sure that that has happened yet. I wanted to bring it to your attention because this has been a conversation from the board. I just don't know, but I'll have Mike Davis get with you. There's an Okaloosa operational audit from the Auditor General that's very, very informative, and it would be helpful to you. And now you're on your feet, and we're getting into a really good year, and any resources we can provide to you and make sure that we uphold what the commission has directed to Visit Pensacola, I'd be glad to be a partner with you.
That'd be great. I know that our goal has been to be using accounting codes that are very similar to with how the county structures their accounting codes. And I don't want to get too far on a limb, but I know in discussion of our procurement process, we've been trying to follow what the county's been doing and being consistent with those procedures.
And I think when Jack served as interim ahead of you, I think, if I remember correctly, he took the initiative and put a lot of things back out.
We did. We bid a lot out in 2020 and made a number of changes, and part of that was in trying to reduce costs. Our bid with Showcase was a 3-year bid. Some of our bids are 3 years. Some of them are not. Some of them are
And so when did
annuals.
that last go out then for Showcase?
That just went into effect October 1st of 20. So we're just finishing up our first year with Showcase. We have 2 more years.
Okay. So I don't know if you had that. Yeah.
It is something you've brought up. I just want to make sure, so he had a chance to tell you what he's been doing, I think helps to check some boxes with what Visit Pensacola is doing.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I think that's it for the TDC or TDT presented by the TDC. And then I believe our last slide, Amber, last slide,
Sure is.
63.
We're ready. David? Thank you, David. David has been a champion back there. I appreciate your help.
So, Brian, you want to? So these are the LOST organizations.
Hello, Brian Wire, President of the Gulf Coast Minority Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Board? We're good, Brian.
Thank you
So much for being here.
Thank you.
Escambia County School Readiness Coalition.
Good morning, everyone. I am Walter Bruce Watson, Jr., the Executive Director of the Escambia County School Readiness Coalition, also more commonly known as the Early Learning Coalition of Escambia County. And our ask this year is the same. We were able this past year with your match money and drawing down one-for-one from the state additional funding to put 172 children into care that otherwise we cannot serve because of the classification and the requirements imposed upon us by the state. Children whose families earn above 150 of federal poverty, but less than 85% of state median income are not qualified to get into our regular subsidized care program. So it's only having the drawdown and the ability, the match money provided by you all that allows those 172 children this past year to come into our program. That's 125 families, over $7 million of collective income for families to earn around $35,000 a year. So you all made a big difference.
Well, good to hear. Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here. All right. Center for Independent Living. And then Amber, I think we've previously had junior achievement in this list. Do you remember what that amount was? I'm just trying to think of from dollar amount. $20,000. Okay. I'm not aware of an ask. I'm just trying to put it in the one that had been in there before. So. Okay. Carolyn, morning.
I guess Bruce is a little bit taller than me.
That's.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Growie, for any of you who may not recall me. I'm from the Center for Independent Living. We are very thankful to have received your funding availability last year. We work very transparently and very carefully with every dollar that we receive. And so last year, unbeknownst to us, we really thought that we would have had a bandwagon of youth that, because their parents would be otherwise predisposed, would be joining for the online versions of our program, and they didn't at a level that we would have expected. And so we only invoiced the county so far for the 2021 time period about $2,000. So, and that's in part because the program was run very, very skimmily from where it would normally run. And one of the things that's different about that $30,000 that you have up there in the budget is that we've actually asked for 60 last year, and we asked for 60 again this year, because part of those funds helped to pay for some of the staffing to run this program. And so we haven't been able to add to that staffing with having the limited dollars available. And so that's a piece of that puzzle that we didn't want to bring a staff on and then not have the money to run the program, or the other way of not having the program participants but still having to pay a staff. So we've been trying to balance that cycle of things. But as you know, the Center for Independent Living is in our 41st year. We've been the only organization throughout the county that has worked with every disability group, every age group, every ethnic group, every religious group, every LGBTQAI plus organization, persons that have chosen to come and use our services, that we work towards finding that next goal for each person that they're working on. The eligibility to participate with us is that you have a disability. It's not that you have to meet some other criteria as far as financial, or as far as what the Social Security says, or as far as what a doctor says, or as far as what the county says, et cetera. Our requirement for using your dollars is that they have to be a person 14 to 26 for this program, because that's what, under the Workforce Investment Act, that would be where the 21 to 26 age group, or excuse me, 14 to 26 age group comes from, and that they live here in Escambia County. So for example, when we're working with somebody who's from Santa Rosa, Fort Walton County, none of those dollars get billed to you for that money. So that's where we're trying to be really clear with you that this, the money that we use for this program stays here in this county. Just as my peers and all of the peers that you've heard from previously in the community partners, we want to make our community better. We want our youth to be stronger. We want people with disabilities to have those same opportunities for equitable, diverse access and inclusion that everybody else in our community has.
Perfect. Okay.
So I don't know if there's any other questions.
Board? I don't think so. So we'll let you know in September.
Very good, and then we'll be ready October 1 for that
Okay.
money, right? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for all you do. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lumen. Thank you, Commissioner Bender. Thank you to all the commissioners.
Thank you.
And I'll just say one other thing. Last thing, just not because I know this is not a public comment time. However, you notice I came up here in the mask. I just want everybody to be aware that Delta variant is growing. And even if you've been vaccinated, you can't help transmitting or possibly getting COVID. And I don't want anybody to have it. We want everybody to be healthy. We know that our numbers, just like everywhere else in the country, if people have long haulers, that means we have more people with disabilities. So just be aware of that.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yep. And we're restarting our calls with the hospitals, with the city of Pensacola and myself. So keep Pensacola beautiful.
Good morning. Sigrid Solgaard, Executive Director for Keep Pensacola Beautiful. I just want to say Keep Pensacola Beautiful is very proud to be a resource and a partner to Escambia County, and that's really what this fund is, I think, there for, is when you need us, you can call on us. And as you've seen over the years, we haven't spent the full amount allocated to us, and that is just because, if we receive, the full amount of calls and requests for services, that's when we can really fully use that. So for us, it's really about just being able to provide those services when they're needed. Happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. I don't have any.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And then we had it on here, and I don't know what happened to it, but Scott Luth, you want to?
Again, Scott Luth, CEO of Florida West, here on behalf of both Florida West and PDC. Happy to answer any questions if needed.
And just because, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, where did we put that shot?
It was here, so we don't know what happened to it, but it's under LOST. And Scott, it's the same amount as last year.
Correct, yeah, no change over last year. Thank you.
How are we doing on our recruitment efforts? Of course, we see that hopefully Florida can capitalize on maybe the things that we've done over the last year and a half that differ from other parts of the country. That
most definitely we have seen a tremendous increase actually over the last 18 months. There's obviously lots of negative associated with the pandemic and everything that's been going on, but from our activity, we're actually up. We are seeing a lot of what you're reading in the other national newspapers as far as companies that are looking to diversify their risk, either by finding locations in the South, finding locations in other states. So we're getting those calls from the Northeast. We're getting those calls from the West Coast for companies that are looking for expansion opportunities, relocation opportunities. So that pipeline has actually increased quite a bit. We're also seeing a tremendous number of folks coming in, which is a big part of our Cyber Coast strategy, or information technology strategy, and that's kind of the work from here opportunity. And we're hearing that from our real estate community, and we're also hearing it, from quite a lot of others that people are, kind of moving those, moving their home-based businesses, or actually moving here, but doing work elsewhere. And so we're going to continue those efforts as well.
Yeah, that actually happened on Saturday. We were transitioning from the flagpole to the marker, and somebody I went to college with said hi to me, and they just moved here from Nashville because they could work from anywhere. Like 6 weeks ago, they moved here. So
yeah, we have three couples that actually grew up here, had spent many years up in the Beltway in D.C., and they have also moved down here in probably the last 12 months. So we're continuing to see those great opportunities as well.
Perfect.
Scott, do you have any prospects on any light manufacturing jobs? I mean, what's the prospect? Are we aligning our job creation with our educational and vocational training? I mean, how's that working?
Yeah, very much so. No, we do. We've got probably 3 expanding companies right now that are kind of in that both light and heavy manufacturing. So we're continuing to see jobs being added there. We're probably weeks away from another company here downtown that's in the biomedical field. They're finalizing some paperwork right now with their real estate partner and looking to have an open house on that, so that's very exciting. We've got, I guess, some suppliers to some of our existing industry that have some significant opportunities to expand. So we're working through those applications, and we'll be bringing things to this board probably throughout the summer and probably into early fall.
So you would say the forecast is pretty positive for light manufacturing jobs and.
I think so, very much so. Just again, there's always a pipeline and a work in process. But if you look at that, I think so I'd say for the near term, we're probably looking at additional announcements of committed jobs of, somewhere in the 1,000 range total between all the projects that we're working that are actually going through some form of application process, either with us or with other agencies currently.
So you'd see those 1,000 jobs within the next 12 months? So when we're here this time next year, we'll have those?
I would see those jobs announced in the next 12 months, and then, of course, again, you have buildings to build, equipment to order and put in place. There's usually anywhere from a 12 to 18-month lag time from announcement or commitment to actually hiring.
But the training would start upon the announcement, I would assume.
We continue to need training every single day. If every one of our companies, or you're seeing a lot of our companies, you have a workforce that's retiring. That's going out at the top end, and you continue to need folks to come in the bottom end. So one of the things that we continue to need to talk about is training, getting more of our citizens into skill sets and opportunities for growth strategies to meet the demand of jobs that are that are naturally recurring, but then also try to make sure that that we're meeting the demands of new opportunities that will continue to come into this community.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Scott.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, board, I think that's the end of the presentations and of today's items. Amber?
Yes, so I want to confirm for you the $600,000 requested from PEDC is in fact, we did confirm in the LOST budget as proposed. 600,000.
600's been the last
It's the
couple
same
years.
amount. Yes, sir. I just wanted to clarify that since it was not on the slide. Do we want to go back over the PowerPoint presentation?
Well, no, I think what she's asking though is there was some direction, I think that was
So
needed.
we do need direction from the board. The listing of $57 million in capital requests, new proposals, and which include rate increases for pay for fire, $3.2 million invested in our traffic signals and such.
Amber, I think we're gonna have a session tomorrow morning about the fire pay, and so I think that's more
Right.
appropriate.
Yeah, we're not deciding those, but there are the other ones that were on there.
But the other stuff, I mean, this has been a lot of information. you know?
Right.
I mean, speaking only for myself, I'm going to take everything that we've taken in over the last couple days, rewatch portions of it, study it, and then come our next meetings in September, and probably before then, you and I will have, a meeting off, outside of these meetings, and then I'll be prepared in September to make the decisions.
Okay.
And Jeff, I agree with you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
I can just tell you, I'm looking at sidewalks now in D3.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's not,
But I mean,
acceptable for me, and it's a lot of information,
Yeah.
We got a new system. I'm gonna have to find time, Emma, to get with you and before we come back. But I'm not prepared to make any public decisions.
No,
right now.
absolutely not. I'm going to take
Yeah.
time to really go through it all thoroughly, and then we'll come back and we'll hash it out like we always do in September. But I also wanted to say thank you for putting together that one slide that Commissioner Berry requested. I think it's very illustrative, and I think when you take out the one-time money that we got and the one-time expenditures that we had, you look at our revenue is much higher than our spending, and I think that's illustrative of our financial, stewardship here and some good things that we've done. And I really think it's important that we say that, because that was an important slide to put up.
So one other point too is American Rescue Plan. We have currently no plan for those dollars. That needs to be considered at some point as well by this board. We do have our first report due to the U.S. Treasury by July 31st, or for spending through July 31st.
We have
And
4 years to do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well,
Lastly, I do want to
So, I mean,
reiterate.
some of that is due though, right? But we've already We've already checked some of those boxes, though.
We've only voted on $350,000 so far to the Bay Center.
So when is the drop dead that you need decisions on that?
We do not need any decisions. I'm just informing the board that we have to report to the U.S. Treasury a status report of what we have spent.
Okay, so
So
there's no,
it can sit in the bank account.
that's right, okay, so there's no impetus for us to make a
Correct.
decision right now. Okay, thank you.
And in closing, I do want to reiterate, the budget as prepared is still structurally unbalanced. So ongoing revenues are exceeded by ongoing expenditures. We have made
By what amount, Amber?
recommendations to move in the right direction, though.
I mean, how much are we over by the proposed budget of today, the number?
So the general fund alone utilizes $32 million of fund balance to balance the budget.
So we got to find 32 million to balance it.
No, it's balanced. We're just using 32 million of.
Correct.
It's using less than it's used in previous years.
Correct.
So in my opinion, we're good to go to the September discussion for whatever it's worth for the one for my one vote.
And then the last thing was how we want to handle the cost allocation.
Yes. Do we have clarity?
Amber, I like that. And in fact, I just got the full, this is the first time I've got the full proposal. And it's a lot of reading, and it's a lot, again, drinking from the fire hose. I don't know if others got it before then, but I just got mine for the first time, that full document last night when you sent it.
And I
Was it-
apologize for that, Commissioner. We have requested meetings, and I'm sorry that our calendars did not jive before now.
Well,
I'd be
I
happy
had
to
my
make sure
meeting-
that we do.
I had my meeting with you, and we talked about open government,
Right.
government, the software. We never talked about that. That never came up. So anyway, I think it's a great idea. I really like it a lot. I'm not prepared to speak about it because it's a lot of information, and I need time to digest it. But I mean, I applaud you bringing it, and I think it's something I'm going to support, but I just need time.
Thank you.
Sure. I mean, of course,
Did you see it, Robert?
I mean, we've met a number of times, not necessarily direction, but just informational.
Yes, thank you.
But I think there's some idea, though, is that, do we think that, I mean, either it is sticker shock for some of those that have been paying a 3% to jump that high. I think there needs to be more of a progression if that's the way we want to go. And I mean, I know the one way is always rip off the Band-Aid, but when entities are going from, you know, let's just say a $200,000 overhead allocation to $600 or $700, that's a big jump. I also agree, or I like the fact that it's also a way for us to pull money into the county through grants, that we are allocating properly the cost of running that grant, and then the county can actually get paid for what we've been doing.
I love it. It's a new thing,
So I think we at least want to focus on the grant side of it and the funds that, yes, go ahead.
Do keep in mind that the cost plan should be updated annually based on the prior year expenses. So as we know, our costs are only rising, which means the allocation recommended for each of those funds will only increase as well.
I understand.
So,
Commissioner Underhill?
Thank you. The sticker shock should really be to the tax-paying citizens who have been providing services to these fund lines for free, and nothing's free. And so that is resources of the county government that the county citizens have paid taxes that we're then giving away that for free. So in my opinion, I mean, I wish there was a way to recoup those costs in past years. There clearly is not. The ripping off of the Band-Aid is really just a matter of getting right with the people of Escambia County for the free services we've been giving away. So if that's hard for some people to stomach, well, certainly when you've been getting something for free and then somebody actually expects you to pay for your ride, you know, it's easy to feel put out by that, but the people who should be feeling the most put out should be the taxpayers of Escambia County.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion? See you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
thank you.
Thank you.